Chapter 437, Family Dispute. By Yuntian could only smile at Yu Fengyang's words. When it came to her child, she loved him dearly. Bai Yushuang looked at Jian Chen with furrowed eyes. Xiangtian, just what reason did you come back? The Huayun sect isn't someone our Changyang clan can go against. Just what trouble are you trying to give us? Yu Fengyan and Bai Yuntian were both shocked by Bai Yushuang's words. She essentially objected to Jian Chen's return almost as if she never wanted him to return at all. The third aunt's words caused Jian Chen to feel slightly angry, but before he could say anything, Yu Fengyan beat him to it. Third sister, your words are completely unnecessary. Although the Huayun sect is indeed very strong, our Changyang clan is not an easy target to bully. We have Chang Bai with us. You must know of the fact that he was able to kill many Heaven Saint Masters at the northern stronghold. As long as Chang Bai is here, the Huayun sect will not have an easy time moving against us. Xiangtian forced to leave his home, and for the past few years had endured much suffering in the outside world. Now that Xiangtian has returned, we should be happy, not throwing cold words at him. Bai Yushuang gave a cold snort before speaking ominously. Xiangtian has never been an obedient child and always enjoyed causing trouble. A few years ago, he hurt my cour, and later caused trouble with the Huayun sect despite only being there for a short amount of time. Now that he has returned, who knows what other trouble he has brought with him. Yu Fengyan and Bai Yuntian both looked speechless. They never would have thought that Bai Yushuang thought that way about Jian Chen. Jian Chen was a little angry at this. His eyes began to shine dangerously with a sharp light, making Bai Yushuang a little afraid to look at him. Third aunt, I know that you object to my being here, but you needn't trouble yourself with my concerns. Whatever trouble I cause, I will naturally absolve them so that they will not burden the clan. Jian Chen spoke. With just you? Bai Yushuang gave a look of loathing before speaking eccentrically. Fine then. You can show us just what you've learned from the outside world. Let's see you resolve the matter with the Huayun sect. Do not let the clan suffer for your troubles. The debt the Huayun sect has with me will naturally be returned. Jian Chen spoke emotionlessly. Jian Chen's words were brassy and arrogant in the eyes of Bai Yushuang, infuriating her. Mockingly, she spat out, Xiangtian, this is not me belittling you, but the words of truth. Think about how strong the Huayun sect is. Have you forgotten about them so quickly? Going against the Huayun sect by yourself? Humph, even imbeciles can dream, I suppose. Jian Chen's head tilted with a dangerous gleam in his eyes. He had truly been angered by Bai Yushuang's words, but in the end, she was still his aunt and elder. Jian Chen had no wish to have any ill will with any of his family members. Since he truly cherished his entire family as a whole, he kept his mouth shut. His status was far different than what it was several years ago. Not only was he stronger than any Heaven Saint Master, he was also the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. With such a status, a trifling matter like this wasn't worth splitting hairs over, but Bai Yushuang's words and attitude was burned into Jian Chen's memory. Third sister, you're older than this. There is no need to cause such difficulty toward a child. Yu Fengyan's eyes narrowed with anger. What difficulty? My words are completely true. Bai Yushuang squinted to look at Yu Fengyan without conceding her point at all. Yu Fengyan began to grow even angrier. Her chest began to swell with fury as she looked at Bai Yushuang. Third sister, you, second aunt, there's no need for this. Jian Chen interrupted before giving a cold stare to Bai Yushuang. The stare caused Bai Yushuang to feel a little timid and instantly looked away from him. Third aunt, I respect you as my aunt and elder, so I will not dwell on your words. But in the future, I hope you do not regret your words today. Jian Chen suddenly spoke. Take a look everyone, look. He dares threaten me. Bai Yushuang immediately seized an opportunity to speak against Jian Chen even more. With her hands at her waist, she pressed on, regret? What will I regret? Changyang Xiangtian, are you going to use your own hands to teach your third aunt a lesson? Everyone look closely. See how this child talks, how he doesn't respect his elders. His delusional words, just how outrageous is he? Yu Fengyan and Bai Yuntian's face hardened with anger. At that moment, a strong and firm voice could suddenly be heard, "Haha, how lively it is today, everyone seems happy." A simply dressed Changyang Ba could be seen walking into the hall with a cheerful smile, indicating just how happy he was. Changyang Ba was a 40-year-old middle-aged man with the facial appearance of a 30-year-old. Despite his age, he still had the handsome appearance from his earlier youth, and his presence had a unique air to him. "My husband. Father." Everyone immediately spoke at his appearance. Changyang Ba was extremely happy today. The moment he walked in, his eyes had immediately landed upon the figure of his fourth child, Xiangtian. Looking closely, the smile on his face only grew even wider, since in his eyes, his fourth child was not only handsome, but a man that was not to be trifled with. Truly, Changyang Ba thought him to be a dragon among men and someone that would seize the opportunity to win at any moment. This combination of factors left Changyang Ba extremely happy, and he laughed out loud. This laughter expressed just how joyous he felt. With such an emotion, what more could a father want? After calming down, Changyang Ba sat beside Jian Chen. "Xianger, you must have felt wronged after all these years." Jian Chen immediately felt warm at his father's words and replied, "Not even a little. Your child has learned many things from the outside world." "Good. Very good. Xianger is a true scholar." Changyang Ba could only use those words to describe just how happy he was with Jian Chen. Seeing just how calm, well-tempered, and handsome Jian Chen was, he couldn't feel any more gratified. He knew that his youngest child had truly grown up. Seeing how Changyang Ba was treating Jian Chen, the nearby Bai Yushuang looked extremely unhappy. Since Changyang Ba was concentrating on Jian Chen, he naturally missed Bai Yushuang's face. AI. Turning around, Changyang Ba suddenly remembered something painful, and the joy faded away from his face, only for a pain-filled expression to replace it. Unfortunately, at his words, Yu Fengyan and Bai Yuntian both sighed as well, feeling for Changyang Hu's disaster. Jian Chen immediately thought to his elder brother Changyang Hu and instantly felt sad. "Father, your child wishes to see eldest brother." Changyang Ba shook his head slightly without saying a word. Jian Chen could understand that his father was in deep pain, how could he not? Jian Chen and Changyang Hu were extremely good friends, but now that Changyang Hu was in such a serious state, Jian Chen couldn't help but feel pained as well. "Father, your child knows what has happened to eldest brother. Please don't worry, he will recover, he will definitely be healed." Jian Chen spoke. Changyang Ba shook his head once more and sighed. It is easier said than done. To regrow his limbs, it would require a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. Within the Tianyuan continent, not only are they exceedingly rare and hard to find, but we do not have any power to invite one even if we found one. A person like that is a person in a world different from ours. Jian Chen knew just how esteemed a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master was. They were an existence that was as high as a saint ruler. Radiant Saint Masters were rare, and it was also hard for them to advance in rank. They were not like their fighting counterparts, and so a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master was an extremely high-class existence. "Father, your child wishes to see eldest brother." Jian Chen stated once more. "Fine then." Changyang Ba finally agreed. Without eating, he immediately walked to where Changyang Hu was with Jian Chen and the other three aunts. Jian Chen walked behind Changyang Ba into the room. Right now, Changyang Hu was motionless on his bed, staring silently at the ceiling above him. On his motionless body, bloodied bandages could be seen wrapped around his limbs. Changyang Hu's mother Ling Long sat dejectedly by his side. Her hair was a mess and her face sallow. Both eyes were bloodshot and tear stains could be seen on her face, evidence that she had not washed her face in many days. "My lady, I beg of you, please eat something. You've gone several days without food." By her side, several maids were crying out to her with several plates of food and a washing bowl ready. Changyangba sighed and waved the maids away. Standing by the bed with a sorrowful look, he glanced down at his eldest son. Changyang, who had all 4 limbs cut off and wasn't even able to eat or drink by himself. A life like this was worse than death. Chapter 438, Class 6 Radiant Saint Master Jian Chen slowly walked to the side of the bed and faced Changyang, who. Gently whispering, he spoke, "Big brother, do you recognize me? I am your 4th brother, Changyang Xiangtian." Changyang, whose listless eyes regained a dim spirit to them as he slowly looked to Jian Chen's figure. With little emotion to his face, Changyang, who let out a pained smile before speaking with a rough voice, "Fo, 4th brother, you've finally returned." Jian Chen let out a small smile. He and Changyang, who had been good friends since they were small, but seeing him as he was now caused Jian Chen's heart to pang with grief. Jian Chen turned around to look at the people behind him. "Father, eldest aunt, I have a few words I want to say to eldest brother. Would it be possible to be alone for a moment?" Changyang Ba nodded slightly. "Xiangtian, you placate your eldest brother now, okay?" With that, Changyang Ba left with the other 2 aunts, leaving behind Changyang, whose mother Ling Long, who was still standing there with a dejected look. Jian Chen walked up to Ling Ling's side and spoke softly, "Eldest aunt, you needn't worry. I will definitely let eldest brother recover. Please let me console eldest brother for now. I have a method to help him recover. I first must have everyone out of the room so I can speak to him." Hearing this, Ling Long's eyes swiveled to him with a look of realization. Her arms trembled as she reached to grab at his hands. "Xiangtian, your aunt begs of you, you must console your brother. Help him. Help him want to live, your aunt begs you." Ling Long's face was filled with a pleading expression. She knew clearly what condition her son was in, and she knew that he had already lost his will to live. He couldn't take care of himself, drink or eat by himself, so he simply wanted to die. Living in such a fashion was a tormenting experience. Jian Chen nodded his head. "Eldest aunt, you needn't worry. I won't let you down." Jian Chen spoke firmly. Jian Chen's words were enough for the eldest aunt, causing Ling Long to clutch at the straws of hope. Her originally waning spirit finally rekindled once more as she left the room, leaving behind Jian Chen and Changyang, who. Seeing such a familiar face, Changyang, whose eyes began to tear up as he thought back to the memories he had of the times in Kargath Academy. He could clearly remember when he had been bullied by Cheng Mingxiang of the Huayun sect, who had hurt him until he was bruised. His 4th brother had taken revenge for him by fighting Cheng Mingxiang and a dozen other students. In the end, Cheng Mingxiang's arm had been cut off, forcing Jian Chen to leave his home against his will. The events from those years haunted Changyang, whose heart. He knew that he had been the cause that had forced his youngest brother to flee from his home. It was his fault that his 4th brother had fallen to such disgrace. This had always made Changyang who feel guilty, since he was the one that implicated his own brother. When his 4th brother had gone silent for years after leaving, Changyang, whose heart had begun to think of the worst. Now that his 4th brother had finally returned, Changyang who couldn't help but feel relieved, and that relief nearly helped him forget about his own wounds. Jian Chen sat by Changyang whose side. "Eldest brother, I know what you are feeling, but you must pull yourself together. Give me some time, and your 4th brother will definitely help restore your limbs." At those words, Changyang, whose face grew dim. Sighing, he replied, "4th brother, you don't understand. In order to regrow a limb, one must have the strength of a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. Your eldest brother will never be able to stand again." Changyang, whose face grew dark with grief and his eyes began to grow dim once more. Anyone could see that he was already starting to lose his strength to continue living. Jian Chen didn't say another word, instead he extended his arm, and suddenly, all of the radiant saint force in the area began to gather in between his hands. In a flash, it had formed a milky white glow that started to shine brighter and brighter in intensity. Dazzling the eyes, the shiny ball of light lit up the entire room. If it were not for the fact that it was day, those on the outside would be able to see the strong rays of light radiating from the room. On the other side of the door, Jian Chen's mother, Bai Yuntian, looked astonished at the radiant saint force flying through the sky into the room Jian Chen and Changyang Hu were in. Astonished, the look on her face grew to reflect her shock. What a strong amount of radiant saint force, who could be doing this? Could it be? Bai Yuntian suddenly realized something. As a fellow radiant saint master, she was able to detect the ripple of radiant saint force and the intensity in which it was gathering at. What startled her even more was the fact that she had never seen such a fast or strong gathering rate before. Only a Class 5 Radiant Saint Master would be able to accomplish such a feat at the very least. After leaving Changyang Hu's room, Changyang Ba and the other ants were still feeling remorseful, so they had not yet noticed Bai Yuntian's sudden change in expression. Inside the room, Changyang Hu could only stare in utter shock at the white light in between Jian Chen's hands. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, but he knew that this type of light was the radiant saint force that only radiant saint masters could wield. Jian Chen's hands began to press down as the ball of radiant saint force started to converge around Changyang Hu's body. After being surrounded by such a pure amount of radiant saint force, Changyang Hu suddenly felt something he had never felt before. It made him feel comfortable. This type of feeling was something that the low-class radiant saint masters would never be able to accomplish. After a brief period of time, Jian Chen finally put down his hands and stopped the radiant saint force from flowing. Experiencing the comfortable bubble of radiant saint force, Changyang Hu's previously pale face had some semblance of color to it. Even the wounds around his limbs had healed. In such a small amount of time, Jian Chen had accomplished something none of the other radiant saint masters had been able to do. Changyang Hu couldn't even speak because of all the shock he was feeling. He could only look at Jian Chen for an extremely long amount of time in silence. Jian Chen sat back down. Seeing the look of shock on his brother's face, Jian Chen had a faint look of contentment. Eldest brother, you may not know this, but not only is your fourth brother a fighter, but I am also a Radiant Saint Master. I am only a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master, but there is only a few steps away until I reach the Class 7 realm. Given some time, I will heal your body. Changyang Hu's face immediately began to surge with emotion while tearing up. His voice began to quaver as he spoke. Fourth brother, are your words, are they true? Are you really a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master? At this moment, Changyang Hu finally felt the strength to continue on living. Jian Chen gave a faint smile. Eldest brother, did you not feel it? The Radiant Saint force I can control is far stronger than any Radiant Saint Master that treated you in the past. Eldest brother. You needn't worry anymore. In some time, I will be able to regrow your limbs and make you normal once more. You must promise me to live until that day comes. Changyang Hu couldn't find any words to describe the feeling in his heart. At Jian Chen's words, Changyang Hu had flung away any thoughts about wanting to die and his hope to live had burst with a new fire. Fourth brother, don't worry. Your eldest brother will definitely wait for you. Your eldest brother will definitely continue to live. Seeing the shadows of death disappear from his eldest brother, Jian Chen had a happy smile on his face before calling out to the people outside. Changyang Ba and Ling Long both walked in, only to discover Changyang Hu lying in the bed in high spirits. All of the depression he had initially felt had been wiped away without a single trace of remnants. This change shocked and confused everyone on just what Jian Chen had said to create such an effect. Bai Yuntian's eyes looked to her child with a loving look, having already guessed what had just happened. Ahu, are you okay? Ling Long had noticed the change in her son's expression and spoke in concern. Seeing his mother's sallow face, Changyang who couldn't help but tear up as he whimpered, "Mother. Don't worry anymore. Your child is fine now. Your child will definitely continue to live." At those words coming from her child, Ling Long suddenly felt the giant boulder weighing down on her rise up. Laying on the bed, she began to wail with tears. Just at that moment, a group of 1,000 men entered Lore City. Many of them carried a bright yellow banner that floated in the wind. On those flags, the giant words, Huayun Sect, could be seen. Now that the war had finally died down, all of the major powers that had took part in the war had returned home. The Huayun sect had been returning from the southern stronghold and were passing through Lore City to reach their sect monastery. Leading the group was a middle-aged man. This was the current patriarch of the Huayun sect, Cheng Fei, and was also Cheng Mingxiang's father. At that moment, a figure in pure black quickly ran over and reached the Huayun sect's group before being blocked by the two magical beast riders at the front. The patriarch immediately recognized the man and said, "Let him pass." The two middle-aged men who blocked the man immediately split way to let the black-robed figure run past. Getting close to the patriarch, he began to whisper something to him. Suddenly, Cheng Fei's eyes shined nastily as he barked out, "Changyang Xiangtian has returned home? Is that true?" "It is absolutely true." The figure spoke honestly. Cheng Fei's eyes grew bright as he waved his hand, "Advance. Continue toward Changyang Manor." The Huayun sect immediately changed path and started to trek toward the Changyang clan. Chapter 439, The Huayun sect at the gates Changyang Manor. Jian Chen and the rest were still in Changyang Hu's room talking to each other when a sound could be heard outside. "Clan leader, there is an urgent report for you." At this, Changyang Ba gave the signal for the maid to open the door. Upon the doors opening up, one of the housekeepers immediately came frantically running in, "Clan leader, something major has happened. The Huayun sect is nearing our Changyang Manor." Changyang Ba's face immediately drained of color as he waved his servant away and wrinkled his eyebrows nervously. If Xiang'er's return was leaked and they caught wind of it, that means they still have not forgotten about the ordeal. Aside from Jian Chen, everyone else turned white, by Yun Tian the most. Hurriedly grabbing at Jian Chen's hands, her face began to show her worry for him. After being apart for so many years before finally being able to see her child again, Bai Yun Tian did not want Jian Chen to be forced to be a wanderer once more. Jian Chen guessed at what his mother was thinking. Feeling a small twinge of pain in his heart, he spoke, "Mother, don't worry. Your child won't repeat the actions of the past. My husband, quickly, call Chang Bai. We heard what Chang Bai was able to do at the northern stronghold. With their two experts, I'm sure even the Huayun sect won't act rashly." Yu Fengyang spoke with some panic and worry. Changyang Ba shook his head. "Chang Bai and all of the other Heaven Saint Masters are currently at the Imperial Palace with the Imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom. This is a crucial time for them to improve relations with a superior kingdom, who would give up such a chance. I believe that Chang Bai won't be back for some time. Then what do we do? Chang Bai is our only Heaven Saint Master. With him not around, how can we deal with the Huayun sect? Now that they are in Lore City, it won't be long until they arrive." Yu Fengyan spoke with concern. Jian Chen wasn't her child, but she was extremely worried for him nonetheless. "Second aunt, you needn't be concerned. I will take care of the Huayun sect myself," Jian Chen said. "Silly child, don't speak such foolish words. The Huayun sect is far too strong for you to deal with by yourself." Bai Yun Tian looked to Jian Chen and held him in her arms, afraid that he'd leave once more. "Mother, your child is not afraid of the Huayun sect," Jian Chen explained. Being at home warmed his heart and made him feel like a child again, almost forgetting about the troubles from the outside. Changyangba spoke, Xianger, you don't have to worry. Our Changyang clan has a precious secret that has improved our strength to more than what it was several years ago. Although we've lost many men from the war, the Huayun sect lost just as many. With Changbai's heaven-tier battle skill, our strength isn't all that far away from the Huayun sect. You stay here and let me deal with the Huayun sect. Humph, the Huayun sect is the #1 sect in our Jessen kingdom and has a power that even the imperial family is afraid of going against. Xiangtian cut off the arm of their only child, Cheng Mingxiang. This is something the Huayun sect won't reconcile over. If we don't bring out Changyang Xiangtian out, our clan will be in deep trouble. We are not at an advantage here, we should have Xiangtian run away now. Do not let him involve our entire clan and cause the needless death of many. Bai Yushuang spoke with a displeased look. How could we do that? Xiangtian has already wandered the outside world for many years and suffered more than enough for 9 lives. He has only just returned, how could we usher him back out into the cruel world so soon? Yu Fengyan spoke. Bai Yushuang snorted before looking at Yu Fengyan with a justified look, open your eyes to see who stands by you. He is still alive and well, is he not? It matters not what he experienced on the outside, he is still living and obviously endured what little dangers he came across. If he continues to stay here, our entire clan will be in danger. Second aunt, I know you worry for Xiangtian, but I am only looking out for the entire clan. Everyone here will stay their mouths. Changyangba boomed, shocking everyone. He gave a hard look to Bai Yushuang that did nothing to conceal his anger, no one make another sound, I've already made my decision. The Huayun sect may be strong, but our Changyang clan is not a clan that can easily be bullied. Xianger, you stay here and do not leave. I will call some men and we shall see how savage the Huayun sect really is. The Changyang clan will no longer fear them. Flicking the sleeves to his robe, Changyangba left the area. Quickly, the peaceful compound grew frantic once more as everyone heard the news with shocked breaths. Confused steps ran across the compound as the servants and maids ran to call every single warrior. Bai Yushuang glared angrily at Jianchen, you truly are the evil omen of our Changyang clan. Ever since your birth, you've caused nothing but trouble, and now our Changyang clan will be led to ruin because of you. Yu Fengyan and Bai Yuntian both grew hard in the face, Bai Yushuang's words invoked anger in them. Even Changyang, who turned his head to look at Bai Yushuang icily, third aunt, how could say such words to fourth brother? It was Cheng Mingxiang's fault, not our fourth brother's fault. Fourth brother took revenge as a substitute for me for my problems. If there is anyone to blame, it is me. Third sister, Ahu is correct. Xiangtian is not to blame for the past. As a primary saint, he was able to cut off the arm of a great saint. This type of strength is not something the Jessen kingdom sees often. We should be happy at his skill and not angered. Ling Long spoke. In the past, she had treated Jianchen indifferently, but now that Jianchen had saved her son, she was especially grateful and had a better opinion of him. Seeing the 3 sisters standing by Jianchen's side, Bai Yushuang knew continuing on would be pointless. With a last snort, she left the area. Ling Long walked up to Jianchen's side and grabbed Jianchen's hand, Xiangtian, please don't take any offense and ignore your third aunt's words. The matter with the Huayun sect needn't be something to worry about. As long as Changbai is here, they will not dare be too presumptuous. However, that Changbai is truly a secretive person. I had no idea that he was that strong. If it weren't for the news from the northern stronghold, we never would have known. If we had known earlier, we would never have dared to let you run away. These years have truly been harsh for you. Ling Long spoke with an apologetic voice. Jianchen had a faint smile to his face, eldest aunt, you needn't worry. Xiangtian is not someone that is easily bullied. Third aunt will sooner or later regret her words. Mother, you underestimate fourth brother. My fourth brother is a genius among geniuses. As an older brother, I am far beneath his power. Changyang smiled from his bed. In his heart, he was truly cheerful because he knew that his fourth brother was a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master. No one had ever heard of one within the Jessan Kingdom before, and it was still rare among the entire continent. Seeing her child's face have such a happy smile, Ling Long felt happy as well. She knew that during Jian Chen's talk with Changyang, he had somehow thrown away the despair he was feeling, causing him to want to live once more. So, her gratitude for Jian Chen had grown immensely. At the same time in the imperial palace of the Jessan Kingdom, 5 of the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom gathered at a dining table. There were more than 10 people gathered there. Aside from the king, the other people were the other Heaven Saint Masters from the rest of Kingdom. This was a gathering that no regular person could attend, and even the prince of the Jessan Kingdom was no exception. At the banquet, all of the experts of the Jessan Kingdom were giving toast to the 5 imperial advisors with extremely respectful attitudes that reflected their attempts to curry favor with them. Although everyone was of the same tier of strength, their statuses were completely different and the power they wielded was just as different. These men were all well-known figures that could fight with any other same-ranking person easily. Their strengths were enough to defeat anyone a rank higher than them. Combined with the heaven-tier battle skills they each had, their military might was on a whole nother level which richly described their existence quite clearly. Honored imperial advisors, this king truly thanks the Qinhuang Kingdom for their assistance. If the Qinhuang Kingdom has any use for our lands, we shall do our best to provide it. Although our Jessan Kingdom is quite weak, we will work as hard as an oxen. The king spoke. The 5 imperial advisors gave a polite smile at his words, but none of them knew just what connection the imperial protector had with the Jessan Kingdom. They knew not which power he was friendly with, so they didn't dare offend anyone here. In the case they offended someone Jian Chen was friendly with, they would suffer the consequences for it. The 5 of them had followed Jian Chen from the Qinhuang Kingdom in hopes of improving their relationship with him, not a single one of them had wanted that to all go to waste. At that moment, the headmaster of Kargath Academy, Kafir, spoke. Honored imperial advisors. This one has a question I wish to ask. When this one was at the northern stronghold, this one heard that your distinguished kingdom had an imperial protector that came to save us. Might this one ask just who that honored figure is, or if the honored imperial advisors can speak just how he knows the Jessan Kingdom? Chapter 440, The Strength of the Changyang Clan. At that moment, the headmaster of Kargath Academy, Kafir, spoke. Honored imperial advisors. This one has a question I wish to ask. When this one was at the northern stronghold, this one heard that your distinguished kingdom had an imperial protector that came to save us. Might this one ask just who that honored figure is, or if the honored imperial advisors can speak just how he knows the Jessan Kingdom? Hearing the question, everyone seated at the table immediately looked to the gathered Qinhuang Kingdom's imperial advisors. Kafir had asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Each one of them knew that as an imperial advisor for the Qinhuang Kingdom, there should be no connection with the Jessan Kingdom. The 5 imperial advisors looked at each other as if to say something silently. They were all high-ranking members, so if it had been just any regular person inquiring about their imperial protector, they would have been extremely displeased. Earlier they hadn't dared reveal any discontent to the specific group in front of them for fear of offending one of the groups their imperial protector was friends with. However, this was a good opportunity to find out more about their imperial protector. The 5 imperial protectors were silent for a moment before Xiao Tian spoke. Our imperial protector's name is Jian Chen, might one of you recognize the name? At the name of Jian Chen, everyone revealed confused looks. They had never heard of such a name before. Seeing everyone's faces, the 5 imperial advisors all felt some confusion themselves. With their eyes, they could see that everyone was not familiar with such a name. This result had made them feel curious as well. was there really a connection between the Jessan kingdom and their imperial protector? In another splendid palace hall, there was a loud clamor as many armored men were eating with joy and laughing with each other. Not only were there high-ranking commanders, there were also many representatives of the major powers to the kingdom. Even 2 of the king's sons were seated there as they gave toasts. Among them, the most prominent-looking figure was a youth in white robes. The youth looked to be around 27 years old, and although he wasn't a part of the royal family, every single person within the halls was toasting him. Even the 2 princes were actively talking with the youth without any arrogance. If anyone who didn't know them had witnessed this sight, they would have assumed that the 3 of them were good friends. This youth was Ming Dong. He had originally been with the Changyang clan at the western stronghold. Originally, he had planned on going back with the Changyang clan after the war ended, but at the request of the king, he had found it hard to decline coming to participate in this feast. Jian Chen, it's been half a year since you should have left the Holy Lands. Tomorrow I'll head to the Changyang clan and wait for your return. I don't doubt that we'll see each other soon, then, we'll leave for the Tianyuan continent and defeat our foes. Ming Dong thought to himself back to the days when he and Jian Chen were together. Not only did Ming Dong feel a brotherly camaraderie with Jian Chen, but he was also indebted to him. If it were not for Jian Chen saving his life way back before, he wouldn't have such power or Jian Chen's assistance now. If he hadn't met Jian Chen, he wouldn't have been able to go with Jian Chen to Mercenary City and meet his uncle Tian. If he had not met his uncle Tian, he would have never been able to walk the path toward the heavens. After the feast ended, Ming Dong was invited to stay at the imperial palace for the night. Ever since the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom had found out there was no connection between the Jessan kingdom and Jian Chen, they had lost any interest on staying here. So when the feast ended, they declined to stay and immediately left the imperial palace. When the 5 imperial advisors left, the experts of the Jessan kingdom had no desire to stay either and began to return home. Xiao Tian and the other 4 walked on the streets away from the palace for a while before Qing Xiaofan spoke. What should we do next? Where do we find the imperial protector? To Lore City. Xiao Tian spoke. Before he left, the imperial protector said that he would be staying in Lore City for a while. Let's go there. That works. However, I have a proposal. Since we don't get to do this often, why don't we go at our own pace? In any case, the war is over and it's unlikely anything bad will happen to the imperial protector, so let us go at our own pace. Tian Luo spoke. After the other 4 men agreed, one of them spoke, Tian Luo has a good idea. Since we are in no rush, we may as well take our time. Let us see the homeland where our imperial protector grew up and see just what environment this was to bring about such a genius. Lore City's Changyang clan. The Huayun sect had already gathered outside the Changyang clan's gates. Inside, several hundred soldiers were gathered by ready to fight. The leader of the Changyang clan, Chengyang Ba, stood calmly in front of the crowd from the Huayun sect. Right behind him, several elders of the clan stood by with frosty glares toward their enemy. In front of them, the Huayun sect's patriarch Cheng Fei had a dozen men behind him as well. Their eyes were sharp like swords and they were all Earth Saint Masters, but the scars on their faces made them seem even more intimidating. Changyang Ba, our Huayun sect does not wish to quarrel with you, but Changyang Xiangtian cut off the arm of my child, which is a sin I cannot forgive. If you do not hand him over to the Huayun sect, my Huayun sect will be forced to make a move. Cheng Fei spoke as he glared at Changyang Ba coldly. Changyang Ba snorted, Cheng Fei, that year has long since passed. It was clearly your son Cheng Mingxiang's fault after he inflicted heavy wounds upon my own child, Ahu. The troubles that happened afterward came from the trouble that Cheng Mingxiang caused himself. If you wish to blame someone, then blame your own child for his lack of skill. A great saint having his arm cut off by a primary saint. Now that the strength of the Changyang clan was far greater than before, Changyang Ba was not afraid of the Huayun sect. So when it came to them, Changyang Ba freely spoke his mind without any filter. Cheng Fei's face grew dark as he regarded Changyang Ba with a dangerous voice. Changyang Ba, could it be that you wish to wage war with my Huayun sect? Although the patriarch is not here, our Changyang clan will not stand to be bullied. If you wish to force our hand, then we will naturally fight against you. Let us see just which power is stronger, your Huayun sect, or my Changyang clan. Changyang Ba spoke without any semblance of humor being heard in his voice. It is true that our patriarch is gone, but do not think our Changyang clan will be bullied like this. We will uphold the strength that our patriarch left behind and right the wrongs that we have once committed those years ago. Another elder said. Cheng Fei's face grew even darker as he spoke. Do you not understand the consequence of offending our Huayun sect? For the sake of a single person, the entire Changyang clan will fall. Do you truly want that? Within Cheng Fei's heart, he didn't wish to fight with the Changyang clan since he had heard of Chang Wuji's strength at the northern stronghold. At his current level, even if the two Heaven Saint Masters from the Huayun sect were to join hands, it would be unclear on whether or not their sect could win. Humph. Even if our Changyang clan falls and becomes a minor clan, the Huayun sect will not be much better off. Changyang Ba laughed coldly. The two sides remained still for a moment. Both of them had a little fear in their hearts since both clans knew that their strengths were nearly equal. In the case that a fight broke out, both sides would take a loss and lose power. After 4 hours of deadlock, a sudden energy could be seen flying from beyond the horizon. A small speck drew closer toward the Changyang clan before slowly descending down from the sky. Slowly, it arrived right in front of the Huayun sect. This was an elder with a fiery red robe and white hair that accentuated his elderly face. Seeing this elder, the Huayun sect's patriarch Cheng Fei immediately looked excited. Speaking with hesitation, he spoke, "Ma master, have you broke through?" The elder nodded his head with a faint smile and excitement. "The heavens have not forgotten about me. I never would have guessed that at the final moment, I would suddenly grasp the concepts of the mysteries of the world and make the breakthrough to become a Heaven Saint Master." Chapter 441, The Return of Chang Bai. Master, you've finally broken through, that's wonderful. Cheng Fei's face lit up with excitement and joy. His master had somehow managed to become a Heaven Saint Master just at the crux of the limit, meaning that the Huayun sect now had 3 Heaven Saint Masters. This was more than the Imperial Palace and made them the strongest faction within the Jessen Kingdom. In Cheng Fei's mind, he could already see the Jessen Kingdom's king treating the Huayun sect with far more respect and submission. Seeing their Huayun sect gain another Heaven Saint Master, the men standing behind Cheng Fei all looked extremely happy and looked at the elder with respect. On the other side, everyone from the Changyang clan had a sour look on their faces as they all glared darkly. The Huayun sect having 3 Heaven Saint Masters wasn't something they wanted at all. "Sire, I didn't think that instead of dying, you would make the breakthrough." One of the elders from the Changyang clan spoke. Saya was the master of Cheng Fei and was already 400 years old. Because he had a talent that was on par with a regular cultivator, it had taken him a very long time to reach the 6th cycle Earth Saint Master realm. He had been stuck at the final step for many dozens of years without being able to comprehend the world energy at all. Since there wasn't much time until his natural lifespan was over, no one expected him to make the breakthrough at the final moment to become a Heaven Saint Master. Saya laughed out loud, "The heavens haven't yet forsaken me. Changyang Yunkang, I didn't think that you would be stuck here. If you don't hurry and work hard, you won't have any chances left." "Humph." The elder replied without any further comment. "Master, your timing is perfect. My son Cheng Mingxiang's arm had been cut off by one of the Changyang clan, but for the sake of protecting that one, the Changyang clan has made us an enemy. I hope that master will help settle things and take revenge for my son's arm." Cheng Fei spoke to Saya. Whether or not they would be able to take revenge on Changyang Xiangtian would depend on his master. Saya nodded his head. I've heard about the matters with Cheng Mingxiang. This is a problem to our own honor. Rest assured, I will make sure justice is dealt with appropriately. After responding, Saya looked at the Changyang clan. You would do best in bringing him out quickly, otherwise you will force my hand. You should know the consequence of that. A Heaven Saint Master was far different than an Earth Saint Master. It didn't matter if that person had only just become a Heaven Saint Master, an Earth Saint Master wouldn't be a match for them. The group from the Changyang clan had stone for faces as they looked at the power in front of them. But Changyang Ba did not step back and instead spoke, we will not hand him over. Saya's eyes grew cold for a moment before snorting. A large amount of power began to radiate from his body and pressure the men from the Changyang clan mercilessly. Against such power, the Changyang clan Saint Masters and Great Saint Masters grew deathly pale in the face. Unable to even take a step back, they began to cough blood from their lips. The strength of a Heaven Saint Master was simply something they could not endure. The remaining men that were still standing now were the dozen Earth Saint Masters from the Changyang clan. Each one grit their teeth in pain, but their attempt to endure such power was incredibly taxing on their energy. While Changyang Ba was the leader of the clan, he only had the strength of a great Saint Master. Within the manor, Jian Chen's eyes had a fierce glint to them. Although his aunts here weren't able to understand what was happening, he himself could see the outside situation clearly. He would not allow for the Heaven Saint Master of the Huayun sect to do as he pleased like this. Jian Chen walked toward the outside with a dark look, but before he could take several steps, a strong arm blocked his path before the sound of his mother could be heard. Xiang'er, where are you going? Listen to your mother and stay here. Bai Yuntian's face grew even more concerned. In the past, she had wished every day and night that she would finally be able to see her son, and now that wish had finally come true. But not even 24 hours after his return, the Huayun sect had arrived in front of their gates, causing Bai Yuntian to feel exceedingly worried about losing her beloved son again. Mother, your son does not fear the Huayun sect. Please let me go. Jian Chen spoke. Absolutely not. Bai Yuntian had been absolute with her words without any room for discussion. Both of her hands grabbed at Jian Chen's arm and lamented, Xiang'er, please listen to your mother's words. Please be obedient and stay here. The Huayun sect will be taken care of by your father. Mother, your child isn't as weak as he was years before. The Huayun sect will definitely not harm your son. Jian Chen explained. Xiang'er, don't speak such foolish words. How are you strong enough to fight the Huayun sect? Listen to your mother, stay here and do not leave my side. Bai Yuntian pleaded with tears flowing from her eyes. Seeing the pleading look on his mother's face, Jian Chen sighed to himself. His heart had softened since his return and he couldn't bear to see his mother hurt. Fine then. Mother, your child will stay here. Outside the courtyard, Saya smiled at the struggling men from the Changyang clan. I will ask you one last time, will you hand him over or not? If you wish to take someone from my Changyang clan, you will never see our doors open to you. The honor of my Changyang clan will not be so easily trampled over by you. If you wish to start a war, then continue at it. Changyang Ba spoke. Although the Huayun sect had 3 Heaven Saint Masters that had plenty of power, Changyang Ba still did not have any hint of fear. Seems like you'll have to taste some pain before you turn obedient. Saya's eyes grew cold as he extended both of his hands. All of the fire elements in the world began to gather around him as an indication that he was about to attack. Forward, everyone. The Earth Saint Masters from the Changyang clan let out a loud cry and formed their saint weapons from the saint force that exploded from their bodies. In a flash, they charged at Saya and brought their saint weapons toward him in several different areas. Saya had only just made the breakthrough to become a Heaven Saint Master, so the world energy was still unfamiliar to him. With all the fire elements in the world still gathering around him, Xia could only abandon his move in order to bring out his own saint weapon to defend himself against the dozen Earth Saint Masters. Both sides clashed with a tremendous explosion of energy, causing damage to the courtyards of the Changyang clan. However, a Heaven Saint Master was a Heaven Saint Master in the end. The difference between one and an Earth Saint Master was unable to be made up for. With Xia's strike, he easily knocked back the Earth Saint Masters. However, the Earth Saint Masters didn't stop there. With loud shouts, tremendous power exploded from their bodies, increasing their strengths threefolds instantaneously. With another charge, the dozen saint weapons blocked off any escape path for Xia. Seeing the group of elders suddenly gain a tremendous boost in strength, Xia had a shocked look on his face. Growing serious, the saint weapon in his hand flashed like lightning as he began to fight earnestly with the group. The sounds of weapons hitting other weapons could be heard loud and clear. With each strike, a ripple of energy blew about the courtyard and brought it to an even worse state. Despite the tough battle, the dozen Earth Saint Masters from the Changyang clan were able to temporarily ward off the Heaven Saint Master Xia. Seeing how he was having so much trouble with the dozen Earth Saint Masters, Xia felt that this was a bit embarrassing, especially with the Huayun sect right there to see them. With a loud shout, he spoke, "If you are this stubborn about the matter, then don't blame me for being impolite." Xia immediately began to go all out and use the explosive energy of his Heaven Saint Master strength. Hitting each Earth Saint Master's saint weapon with his own, he managed to send them flying back with blood spilling from their mouths. As a result, the Earth Saint Masters were all injured one after another by Xia. Blood flew out of their mouths. Each one of the men who had been fighting with him on equal ground before were quickly defeated. Changyang Ba's face grew difficult to look at as well. A Heaven Saint Master was far stronger than an Earth Saint Master. Even a dozen Earth Saint Masters working together weren't enough to pose a challenge for him. These elders were the strongest Earth Saint Masters the Changyang clan had to offer, and if they were not enough, the Changyang clan had no other immediate solution. Xia let out a cold smile as he regarded the dozen Earth Saint Masters. Without looking, he said, "Cheng Fei, call out some people to grab the man. If anyone stops them, spare them no mercy." "Yes, Master." The patriarch spoke joyously before commanding several people to go search the manor. Within Changyang Hu's room, Jian Chen's handsome face hardened as a large amount of killing intent radiated from his eyes. Just as he was about to move out of his mother's grasp, his face suddenly slackened and eased up. At that moment, before the men the Huayun sect had commanded could enter the manor, a loud whistling sound could be heard as a fiery figure came blazing toward them from the horizon. Even from far away, the amount of power it radiated was potent enough to scorch the clouds in the sky. Xia's face grew shocked as he hissed, "Not good, Chang Wuji is back." Chapter 442, Power. Xia's words caused the patriarch to look shocked as well. He had a deep fear of Chang Wuji since he knew that at the northern stronghold, Chang Wuji had used a heaven-tier battle skill to kill 2 Heaven Saint Masters. This to him, was an incredibly shocking fact. Quickly, a cyan-robed man came descending from the sky to the ground, and landed in front of the Changyang clan in opposition to the Huayun sect. "Chang Bai, you finally returned." Changyang Ba had a happy look to his face as he looked at the new elder. He was excited because Chang Bai was a Heaven Saint Master. Now that he had returned, they were able to defend the clan against Xia, and prevent the Huayun sect from being able to look through the manor as they pleased. Not only would his 4th child be saved, but their honor would remain safe as well. At the most crucial moment, Chang Bai suddenly returned to save Changyang Ba by tossing him a rope to grab hold of. The heart that had leaped into his throat finally fell back down, and even the other Earth Saint Masters gave a sigh in relief. There was finally a Heaven Saint Master that could help them. Chang Wuji gave a hard look as he surveyed the broken courtyard around him and then to the pale white elders. Upon seeing their wounds, Chang Wuji's eyes gained a baleful aura as he spoke, "Leader, just what happened here?" Walking forward, he spoke, "Chang Bai, yesterday, Xiang'er suddenly returned home. The Hua Yun sect somehow heard news of his return and came to capture him." "What? The fourth master has returned home?" Chang Bai's face grew shocked. There had been no sign of Jian Chen for several years after he left. At one point, Chang Bai had even doubted that Jian Chen would ever come back. He didn't expect that after so long his fourth master would abruptly come back. This was something that he felt was extremely unexpected. Changyang Ba nodded his head with a faint smile. Xiang'er suddenly came back from who knows where. After being lost for so long, he has returned safe and sound. He's back, that's all that matters. Chang Bai's face lit up with happiness. Jian Chen had been a talented genius that Chang Bai had huge expectations for. He had even looked after Jian Chen while growing up, so his feelings for him were rather deep. Chang Wuji stifled the happiness in his heart and glared at the Hua Yun sect with a dangerous look. With a furious voice, he spoke, "Although the master isn't here, our Changyang clan will not be so easily bullied. Hua Yun sect, remove yourself from my sight." With that, Chang Bai's arms clenched the air, causing a wave of world energy to gather at an alarming rate. Then, with a push outward, the energy flew toward the Hua Yun sect. Against such a strong blow, the men from the Hua Yun sect weren't able to defend themselves at all. Each one flew into the sky and fell outside the courtyards, but several Earth Saint Masters somehow managed to defend themselves. Even the newly advanced Heaven Saint Master Saya found it difficult to resist. Both of his feet dragged against the ground, leaving behind deep skid mark from his backward momentum. Chang Bai's control of the world energy was exceedingly strong and fine-tuned. There hadn't been any form of damage to the surrounding area. He had already been in the Heaven Saint Master realm for many years, so his strength far outstripped that of Saya. Seeing that he was unable to defend against such a blow from Chang Wuji, Saya's face grew ugly while fear crept into his heart. Chang Wuji had been a secretive person and was not counted within the top 10 experts of the Jessen Kingdom. Only those of the Changyang clan had known that Chang Bai was a hidden expert. If it were not for the four kingdoms, his strength would have never been known to anyone outside of the clan. Chang Wuji's eyes fell upon Saya with a little surprise. "I believe you are called Saya. I didn't think that you would become a Heaven Saint Master, but because you've injured my Changyang clan, don't blame me for being impolite. The honor of my Changyang clan cannot be so easily trampled upon." With that, Chang Wuji's right hand clenched the air, causing all of the world energy around him to transform into fire, the strongest of the 6 elements in terms of offensive might. Chang Wuji's speed at gathering the fire elements was extremely fast. In an instant, he had formed a giant sword of fire that flew toward Saya. Blanching, Saya knew that as a recent Heaven Saint Master he was not a match for Chang Wuji. Without hesitation, Saya instantly took out his saint weapon to attack the fire sword. Bang! A large wave of energy exploded outward after the initial collision, covering the entire area within its spread. At the same time, a faint red glow could be seen protecting the entire Changyang clan. Even the walls to the manor were protected from the energy wave. Saya let out a mouthful of blood and quickly became pale before staggering back. Although he was a Heaven Saint Master, the difference between the two was far too much if he couldn't even handle a single blow. The disciples of the Hua Yun sect had been caught in the blast as well. When the wave of fire had engulfed them, several of the men had lost their lives while many others had barely escaped with their lives. However, they themselves were in a sorry position with their clothes burned completely away. In an instant, the previously winning Hua Yun sect fell into disarray from Chang Wuji's appearance. Chang Wuji's strength caused the entire Hua Yun sect to go quiet with dark expressions. Suddenly, 2 giant forces of power came flying forward from far away. As they approached, they slowly dropped down in front of the Changyang manor. These two men looked to be 70-year-old elders with white robes and bright eyes. However, their faces were scrunched up in anger as they looked forward. However, the moment the Huayun sect's patriarch saw these two elders, he let out a look of joy and immediately knelt down. "I pay my respects to the grand elders." The entire group of disciples from the Huayun sect immediately followed suit and greeted the two elders. Their voices were extremely respectful and shook the sky. The two grand elders looked ahead of them for a moment before one of them spoke up, "Cheng Fei, what is going on here?" After asking, the patriarch explained the entire story to the two elders. Upon listening, the two elders grew quiet for a moment. If it was in the past, the Huayun sect wouldn't allow for such treatment from the Changyang clan, and would have beaten them all to death a long time ago. Now that Chang Wuji's strength had been revealed after the events at the northern stronghold, the two elders were secretly afraid of him and didn't dare belittle the Changyang clan. To be able to kill two Heaven Saint Masters wasn't the work any regular person could do. Chang Wuji even had a Heaven-tier battle skill which placed heavy pressure on the two Grand Elders. One of the Grand Elders looked to Chang Wuji wearily, "Chang Wuji, with one move you've killed a dozen of my Huayun sect. You are being too fierce." Chang Wuji let out a snort, "Your Huayun sect has caused such a mess within my Changyang clan and injured a dozen of our clan's strongest. How should such a debt be repaid?" Chang Wuji took a step forward with a head held high for the two experts, ready to fight if need be. The two Grand Elders from the Huayun sect were taken back for a moment, but they did not shirk away. One of the two immediately explained, "I've heard of the matter from those years ago. The fault lies with Changyang Xiangtian. He cut off the arm of our patriarch's son, Cheng Mingxiang. If we tally things up, it is the fault of your Changyang clan. Our Huayun sect only wishes to do things right." "You jest." The matter had already been investigated into. Everything was because of the instigation your Cheng Mingxiang caused with our fourth master. If there's anyone to blame, blame Cheng Mingxiang. A middle great saint having his arm cut off by a primary saint is too laughable. Chang Wuji spoke without holding back. Chapter 443, Reveal of Strength. Chang Wuji's words were extremely heavy for the two Grand Elders to hear. It was practically an insult saying the patriarch of the Huayun sect had a worthless son. "Chang Wuji, we will remember today's events, let's go." One of the Grand Elders spoke before leading the group away from the Changyang manor. The Changyang clan of today was not the same as it was before because of Chang Wuji. He was enough for the two Grand Elders to give up. Even if they fought him at the same time, they wouldn't be able to take him since they feared his Heaven-tier battle skill the most. Despite the Huayun sect having one new Heaven Saint Master, he had only just stepped into that realm. Using him to bully some Earth Saint Masters would be fine, but fighting against a Heaven Saint Master was not possible. The difference between a first-cycle Heaven Saint Master and Chang Wuji was far too wide. Chang Wuji didn't embarrass the Huayun sect anymore. The Changyang clan of today was similar to the Huayun sect. If either one wanted to fight, there would be heavy losses for both sides that neither party wanted. "Sid, have the servants clean up the place." Chang Wuji looked to one of the elders. "Yes." The elder named Sid replied respectfully before heading back. He was the second of two housekeepers of the Changyang clan. Chang Wuji was the head housekeeper and Sid was the secondary housekeeper that provided assistance to Chang Wuji whenever needed. Looking toward the other elders, Chang Wuji spoke, "Fellow elders, please go and treat your wounds." After exchanging several words of greeting to Chang Wuji, the elders left while the hundreds of soldiers under Changyang Ba scattered as well. In a flash, the entire place grew quiet with only the scattered remains of the courtyard being seen. After everyone had left, Chang Wuji let out a light sigh before a comforting smile overtook his face. "I never would have thought that the fourth master would return so suddenly. What a celebratory matter, leader, please take me to see the fourth master. After so many years, I wish to see just how strong the fourth master has grown. Changyang Ba let out a laugh. Xiang is currently in Changyang Hu's room. Chang Bai, come with me. Afterward, Changyang Ba and Chang Bai both left for Changyang Hu's room. In the room, 3 women were standing by Jian Chen's side. The sight itself was very eye-catching. As soon as Chang Bai entered the room and saw Jian Chen, his entire face slackened and his mouth dropped open in a stupefied manner. Changyang Ba hadn't noticed the look on Chang Bai's face and consoled his apprehensive wives. The Huayun sect have retreated for now, so don't worry. Xiang is fine, the Huayun sect will not dare offend us now. Upon hearing this, Bu Yuntian let out a long breath in relief. Her heart began to slow down from all the shock while Jian Chen's aunts Yu Fengyan and Ling Long also let out breaths in relief. I pay my respects to Chang Bai. Jian Chen cupped his hands and bowed to him. Seeing the thunderstruck look on his face, Jian Chen couldn't help but reveal a devilish smile. Jian Chen's voice caused Chang Bai to snap out of his silence and he began to stutter, "Why, are you, really, the fourth master?" Seeing the familiar face, Chang Bai couldn't help but think back to the time where he had gone to the Pingyang Kingdom's stronghold, where he met a mysterious youth that had battled with 5 Heaven Saint Masters before personally killing 4 of them. He had even caused the expert from the Qiangan Kingdom to lose an arm before that expert had fled. The appearance of that youth was the exact same one as the one in front of him. Changyang Ba heard the voice of Chang Bai feel a little off and turned to give him a strange look. Upon seeing Chang Bai's face, he couldn't help but feel curious just what made Chang Bai lose his manners so suddenly. "Chang Bai, what's wrong?" Changyang Ba asked with concern. He couldn't figure out just what was wrong with Chang Bai. Jian Chen's mother Bai Yuntian and his 2 aunts gave a similar look of confusion. Chang Bai's sudden loss of composure was extremely strange to them. This was the very first time they had ever seen such an expression on him. Jian Chen still had a faint smile on his face as he nodded, "Chang Bai, I truly am Xiangtian. Could it be that you cannot recognize me?" "And no, that's not possible." Chang Bai still looked stunned as he looked at Jian Chen. The mysterious youth that had killed 4 Heaven Saint Masters was his 4th master, Changyang Xiangtian? This was exceedingly hard to believe because when the 4th master was 15, he was only a primary saint. It had only been 5 to 6 years since his departure, so Changyang Xiangtian becoming a Heaven Saint Master was utterly inconceivable. "Chang Bai, what are you saying?" Changyang Ba asked once more. Changyang Ba was completely unable to make any sense of the situation at hand. Chang Bai let out a deep breath to calm down. No longer as surprised, he slowly spoke, "Clan leader, do you remember when we were at the northern stronghold, I told you a mysterious expert had killed and cut off the heads of 4 Heaven Saint Masters from the Pingyang Kingdom?" Changyang Ba nodded, but did not say anything and waited for Chang Bai to continue. Chang Bai went silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice shook. "That mysterious expert, it was the 4th master." "What?" Changyang Ba revealed a surprised look on his face. He didn't believe his ears and asked once more, "Chang Bai, what did you just say?" "At the Pingyang Kingdom, the expert that killed and cut off the heads of the 4 Heaven Saint Masters was the 4th master." Chang Bai spoke once more. He had repeated it slowly and allowed everyone to hear what he said clearly. Chang Bai's words caused the entire room to go silent. Everyone could only look at Jian Chen, even Changyang who was on the bed looked at Jian Chen in utter shock. Bai Yuntian was the first to snap out of her shock and smiled, "Chang Bai, you must be mistaken. Xiangtian is only 21 years old, how could he be that strong?" Changyang Ba looked to Jian Chen and asked with a shaking voice, "Xiang, is what Chang Bai says true? Did you kill the 4 Heaven Saint Masters from the Pingyang Kingdom?" Changyang Ba was eagerly awaiting a response. He didn't dare believe his son was that strong, but he couldn't help but ask. Changbai was not a man that would speak without thinking first. Jian Chen nodded. Changbai is correct. Father, the 4 heaven saint masters from the Pingyang kingdom were killed by me. Every single person within the room was stunned by Jian Chen's words. A youth that was only 21 years old was able to kill a heaven saint master. That was a shocking piece of news. How is that possible, Xianger? You left the Changyang clan when you were 15 years old and a primary saint. It has been only 6 years, how could you become so strong? Bai Yuntian was astonished, her eyes were wide open. Xiangtian, just how or what way were you able to kill an enemy heaven saint master? Yu Fengyan spoke with surprise. Xianger, just how strong have you become? I can't even seem to tell. Changyang Ba's voice shook with unrestrainable emotion. He was extremely overjoyed and simply could not use words to describe such joy. Jian Chen went silent for a mother before speaking. Father, mother, because of a chance of luck, my path of cultivation changed drastically. I've already completely separated myself from the class system of the Tian Yuan continent. My strength is most likely at the Heaven Saint Master rank since I'm already able to control the world energy. When it came to his own strength, Jian Chen didn't know how to accurately classify himself. He was able to kill a Heaven Saint Master with the origin energy of the Azure and Violet Sword spirits. With that energy, even a 6th cycle Heaven Saint Master was not someone to fear. If he were to lose the origin energy, it would take a considerable amount of energy to use his ability to control anything to kill a Heaven Saint Master. A Heaven Saint Master. A Heaven Saint Master. Xianger, are you really a Heaven Saint Master? Bai Yuntian spoke joyously. Her entire body began to shake with joy. There was no way she wouldn't be happy, since her son was a Heaven Saint Master. Jian Chen's 2 other aunts let out flabbergasted expressions as they looked at Jian Chen. Good. Very good. You are truly my son and offspring of our Changyang clan. Xianger, the strength you wield today is something your dear father is very gratified to see. We, the Changyang clan, are proud of you. Changyang Ba boomed with laughter. With a son like this, there was nothing more a father could ask for. Chapter 444, Killing the Huayun Sect. 1. Changbai exhaled slowly with some minor shock still. The 4th master is quite the genius. I once held large expectations for the 4th master, but I never would have imagined that after 6 years, the 4th master would transform into a Heaven Saint Master. Such a talent like this is rarely seen even once every 10,000 years on the continent. Haha, hearing Changbai's praise, Changyang Ba couldn't help but laugh from the joy that sprung from his heart. Even his eyes had tears flowing from them, he was so full of joy. This is far too unbelievable for anyone. Xiangtian is a Heaven Saint Master? We should spread this news around immediately. With such a genius in the Changyang clan, even the imperial palace will try to curry favor with us. Jian Chen's aunt Yu Fengyan spoke. Straight away, Jian Chen replied, Second aunt, something like this shouldn't be revealed so easily. I do not wish for many people to know. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master would spread through the continent like wildfire. It would surely bring about trouble, therefore Jian Chen did not wish for everyone to know about it just yet. The 4th master is correct, we should not publicly announce this just yet. Let us hide it for now. If the major powers within the continent were to hear about the 4th master's talent, who knows what might happen in the future. Some may decide to bring the 4th master in their own grace. Some may decide that the 4th master may be a danger to them later. Changbai spoke seriously. Changyang Ba nodded his head in understanding. As he began to calm down, he spoke, Changbai is correct. Xianger's secret should be kept within our clan. Although it would bring us great honor if known, it would also bring trouble to Xianger. Hearing this, Bai Yuntian felt some fear for her child. There was no one more concerned for her child than her, and even the second aunt felt the severeness of the situation. A man innocent of any crime would still be guilty of treasuring a jade ring. All the adults here knew that people understood that line of reasoning, and to their eyes, Jian Chen had transformed into a precious treasure. Hearing Chang Bai and his father speak, Jian Chen didn't care for the problem anymore. He was well aware that with his strength, there was no danger to be had unless he came across a saint ruler. However, even if a saint ruler wanted to do something to him, Jian Chen's status as an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom was enough for the Qinhuang kingdom to take action on his behalf. Within the Jessan kingdom's imperial palace, the royally dressed king and the headmaster of Kargath Academy Kafir were standing within a pavilion situated in the garden. Kafir, who do you think the imperial protector, Jian Chen is? Why would he rush from a distant kingdom to our Jessan kingdom to help out? Although our Jessan kingdom has many rich lands, it isn't enough to provoke the Qinhuang kingdom's interest. Furthermore, the distance between our kingdoms is far too wide for it to matter. The king of the Jessan kingdom pondered curiously. These were questions he had spent many hours thinking about, but he had not arrived at an answer yet. Kafir shook his head. The name of Jian Chen is not one I recognize. I too am puzzled on just why the Qinhuang kingdom would provide assistance to our kingdom. For them to come from such a distant kingdom, there has to be some sort of connection between their imperial protector and our Jessan kingdom. The king's eyes narrowed together with a bright glow visible. Kafir, do you think it has to do with Patriarch Changyang? Kafir's eyes lit up with a bright gleam at the question. At the same time, a guard from outside came running in before kneeling before the two. Your Majesty, I come bearing an urgent report from Lore City. Upon hearing that there was news from Lore City, the king commanded, hand it over. The guard immediately walked toward the king and respectfully placed the message into the king's hands. Unraveling the message, the king read the message before exclaiming in shock, he was still alive? Kafir's body stiffened as he spoke in astonishment. Did Patriarch Changyang return? If he has, then this matter with the Qinhuang kingdom is all but over. The king shook his head before handing the message to Kafir. Reading the contents of the message, Kafir displayed a look of shock on his face as well. Changyang Xiangtian? I had no idea that he was alive or had even come back. When he left, it was without a trace. Even the Changyang clan couldn't find any trace of him when they searched for him. I had thought that he died already, but for him to return, that is quite shocking. The king had a smile on his face as he spoke. That Changyang Xiangtian's return is really quite timely now that Chang Wuji's strength has been revealed. If it were not for the matter at the northern stronghold, we would have never known how strong Chang Wuji is. Even the Huayun sect won't dare go against the Changyang clan. Changyang Xiangtian is safe for now. Kafir nodded his head before thinking back to a few years ago at Kargath Academy when the energy of the world flew around Jian Chen with an explosive force when he became a saint. Changyang Xiangtian was no ordinary genius. Given time, he will pass any limits placed on him and will surely be stronger. One of the maids came rushing forward with a slight bow as she spoke. Your Majesty, the envoys from the Blue Wind Kingdom, the Andreas Kingdom, the Hidden Dragon Kingdom, and the Pingyang Kingdom have all gathered within the Imperial Palace and are waiting to be received. I understand, you may go. The king waved his hand. Yes, Your Majesty. The maid withdrew back into the palace. The might of the Qinhuang Kingdom is truly massive. Those 4 kingdoms were frightened straight away. Kafir, I'll be leaving first to see what those 4 envoys want to do to compensate. Coming from within the Changyang manor, the 4th master's return quickly spread through Lore City. Even the other 3 major clans within the city heard the news and the leaders of each clan immediately came by bearing congratulatory gifts. Although the Changyang clan was only one of the 4 strongest clans in Lore City, every single person knew that the Changyang clan was the most revered within the city. This was because they had been here before Lore City was even founded while the other 3 clans came later. Since the Changyang clan was secretive by nature, the common masses had always thought the four clans were on equal footing. Changyang personally greeted the three clan leaders and Changbai received them into the hall, much to the honor of the three leaders. Although Changbai was a heaven saint master, he did not exude the arrogance that was commonly seen with one. He was the greatest example of what a loyal housekeeper was, by doing what he was told to do. Even in front of Changyang, he always referred to himself as a servant. The three leaders' main purpose for coming to the manor was hopes of arranging a marriage between one of their daughters to the Changyang clan's fourth master. When Changyang informed them that his fourth child had already been engaged to Princess Gulan, they all revealed disappointed looks on their faces. After staying for a little longer, they spoke several words and left. That afternoon, Jianchen walked out of Changyang Manor into the streets. He was headed to where Xiaofan and Sands were staying. After taking the two out of the inn they were in, he headed back to the Changyang clan. "We pay our respects to the fourth master." The guards at the gates immediately spoke to Jianchen. By now, everyone recognized just who Jianchen was. Jianchen nodded his head and brought Xiaofan and Sands into the courtyards. Calling for two maids, he had them brought to Changbai. Asking him to make preparations for the two, Jianchen had spoke of the relationship between him and the two. When Changbai heard about how her husband had lost his life to save Jianchen's, Changbai's face had grown extremely serious. Saying that he would personally take care of the preparations, he reported the matter to Jianchen's mother, Bai Yuntian. When Jianchen's parents heard about the connection between Jianchen, Xiaofan, and Sands, they immediately stopped their tasks at hand and went to pamper them graciously without caring for the social gap between them. And so, Xiaofan and Sands started to live at Changyang Manor for the meanwhile. However, the news that Kendall had died had not been disclosed to Xiaofan and her son. Jianchen and Changbai slowly walked through the courtyards before Jianchen asked out of the blue, "Changbai, is there a method for a shattered saint weapon to be reformed?" Changbai shook his head, "There is none to my knowledge." "Could this be for Ken Xiaosan?" Jianchen sighed, "Ken Xiaosan was hurt because of me. If I do not resolve this matter, I will not be able to rest easily." Changbai went silent for a moment. "Fourth Master, the Tianyuan continent has all sorts of strange and magical items. Our current knowledge is merely the tip of the iceberg. Although we don't know of any method to repair the shattered saint weapon of a person, it does not mean there is no proof that it cannot be done." Jianchen went silent for a moment. If he could not heal Sands, he would never be able to forgive himself. Sands was the son of Kendall and had been still hurt because of him. "Changbai, I am going to leave for a moment. I must resolve the matter with the Huayun sect," Jianchen declared. His voice was calm and no hint of emotion could be discerned. Chapter 445, Killing the Huayun Sect, 2, Fourth Master, if you do that, your strength would be revealed. Although it would be a glorious moment for the clan, this servant worries about the troubles that might fall upon your head. Changbai spoke with concern. "Changbai, this isn't a problem you should worry about. I will take care of everything." Jianchen spoke calmly without an ounce of worry for himself. Seeing the resolute look on Jianchen's face, Changbai knew that there was no convincing him. To put off his own worries, Changbai spoke, "Fourth Master, please allow this old man to accompany you then." Shaking his head, Jianchen replied, "Changbai, the Huayun sect is something I need to take care of myself. I know my own strength, I alone will be enough." Upon hearing Jianchen's words, Changbai couldn't help but think back to when they were both at the stronghold of the Pingyang kingdom. With a small smile, he spoke, "The fourth master is already an expert that can defend himself. If the fourth master wishes to go by himself, then this old servant won't meddle anymore. Changbai, I will trouble you with my mother and father. I will be back soon." As he spoke about his parents, Jianchen's eyes couldn't help but soften slightly. The fourth lady and clan leader will be reassured by me. Fourth master, head out early and come back early. Jian Chen nodded his head and began to control the world energy to cover his body. With the wind element surrounding him, Jian Chen instantly blew away into the sky in a blur of cyan. In an instant, he disappeared behind the clouds in the sky. Seeing Jian Chen disappear, Changbai's face revealed an astonished look. Strange, back at the Pingyang Kingdom's borders, I could have sworn that I saw the fourth master using the fire element. Now, he's using the wind element. Could it be that the fourth master is able to control both elements? Changbai looked back to the boundless sky and let out a drawn-out sigh. Muttering to himself, he said, "The fourth master has already surpassed all of my expectations. It seems that not after long, the Changyang clan will join the ranks of the strongest clans because of the fourth master. Who knows when the master will return? If he knew that the Changyang clan had such an outstanding child, who knows how happy he would be." Afterward, Changbai left to look for Changyang Ba and tell him the news. After receiving the information, Changyang Ba's eyebrows scrunched together as he spoke with worry. "Changbai, will there be any problem with Xiang'er going by himself?" Changbai shook his head, "Unlikely. When I first witnessed his strength, 4 of the Heaven Saint Masters from the Pingyang Kingdom and Qianyun from the Qiangan Kingdom had been unable to even touch the fourth master. The Huayun sect stands no chance. Then who knows how Xiang'er will decide on how to deal with the Huayun sect? If what you say is true, Xiang'er already possesses the strength to easily destroy the entire Huayun sect. Many years ago, the fact that the Huayun sect had forced Xiang'er to flee his home surely must have left a deep grudge within his heart. Do you think Xiang'er will act upon such a drastic action and destroy the Huayun sect?" Changyang Ba's eyebrows scrunched together in concern. Hearing this, Changbai was stunned for a moment before growing shocked. Alas! I hadn't thought of such a thing at that moment. With the fourth master's strength, he could truly destroy the Huayun sect. With the war our kingdom has just experienced, our kingdom lacks power. We even lost 3 Heaven Saint Masters from the battle, depleting our forces by a large amount. If the Huayun sect were to be destroyed by the fourth master, our kingdom will fall into a period of weakness that would take 100 years to recover from. You speak correctly. If Xiang'er truly kills off every expert from the Huayun sect, there won't be anything left to do. Our Jessan kingdom has already lost too many Heaven Saint Masters. Changyang Ba had a serious look to his face. Whether the Jessan kingdom would be able to recover or not depended on the support of Heaven Saint Masters. They were the symbols of strength for a kingdom. Losing them would bring about a giant loss for the entire kingdom. Furthermore, the patriarch of the Huayun sect was the minister of the Jessan kingdom. With such an achievement, his status was extremely high. If the Changyang clan were to destroy the Huayun sect, then it would not be an easily forgivable act. 1,000 meters in the air, Jian Chen flew in between the clouds, allowing them to hide his body from below. This time, he was not carrying the tiger cub and had fed it yesterday night with several heavenly resources, causing it to sleep. With the current digestion rate of the tiger cub, it would take 2 or 3 days before it would wake up again. The Huayun sect was about 4,000 kilometers away from Lore City and resided upon the most famous mountain in Jessan Kingdom, Tianhua Mountains. The Huayun sect held a decisive amount of power within the Jessan Kingdom and was the strongest aside from the imperial family. Now that they had a new Heaven Saint Master, the Huayun sect was now the uncontested power within the Jessan Kingdom and could even control the imperial family. The Huayun sect had resided within the Jessan Kingdom for hundreds of years, back when the kingdom had just barely been established alongside the Changyang clan. At that time, the founding patriarch of the Huayun sect, the patriarch of the Changyang clan, and the very first headmaster of Kargath Academy had been called the ministers of the Jessan Kingdom. After over 4 hours of flying, Jian Chen finally arrived at Tianhua Mountains before walking the rest of the way there. The Huayun sect that were walking on horseback had only just arrived back home. therefore everyone was rushing to bring their items from the horses back inside the monastery. Right in front of the gates were a dozen soldiers standing guard. They were clearly the ones responsible for the gates. With his head held high, Jian Chen strode for the mountain gates of the Huayun sect. Just as he reached a 30 meters distance, two of the disciples instantly blocked his path and spoke arrogantly, "Who are you and what is your purpose with the Huayun sect?" Sia's advancement into the Heaven Saint Master realm had already made news around the sect. This meant the Huayun sect now had 3 Heaven Saint Masters, making them the strongest faction of power within the entire Jessan kingdom. With such a title, the normal disciples of the Huayun sect felt utterly prideful, looking down on almost everyone. Jian Chen's eyes suddenly turned cold as he swiped at the sky. All of the energy in the world suddenly began to gather in front of Jian Chen's palm before he pushed it forward, pushing the world energy toward the disciples standing guard. As soon as the disciples were blown away, the door they had been protecting suddenly pushed apart from the world energy, allowing Jian Chen entry. Chapter 446, Killing the Huayun Sect, 3. The sudden bang that accompanied the door's opening startled all of the nearby disciples. Many of them threw down their items and quickly ran to gather at the gates. Jian Chen strode past the collapsed gates and continued to walk deep within the sect without any signs of stopping. Swiping with both hands, the world energy continued to gather around his hands before quickly forming 2 giant blades of fire that flew toward the nearest hallway. Bang! A loud echo could be heard as the flames licked at the halls, collapsing the entire structure before being charred black. The Huayun sect was built using granite, a flame-resistant material. Thus, it would not burn too easily. Originally, Jian Chen planned on destroying the Huayun sect like the Yangji sect, but the granite buildings forced him to give up on that idea. This type of development frightened the entire Huayun sect. The flames that filled the sky was extremely dazzling and reflected red upon the entire place, attracting everyone's attention. Many more disciples from the sect began to gather along with the higher echelons of the sect who leaped over roofs to arrive. Not too long after, 200 uniformed men gathered near the gates, surrounding Jian Chen completely. "Youngster, who are you? Did you wish to die by attacking our Huayun sect? To dare harm our Huayun sect like this, our sect will not forgive you for this." The 200 disciples began to curse at Jian Chen angrily with eyes that could shoot fire. Jian Chen had destroyed their gates, an act similar to slapping the face of the entire Huayun sect. This to the disciples was far more than enough to warrant their killing intent. Right now the Huayun sect had 3 Heaven Saint Master experts. Within the Jessan kingdom, this was an unmatched power. 3 Heaven Saint Masters was an honor that made even the regular disciples of the sect feel extremely proud. Which caused their eyes to shine brightly and they had begun to look down on everyone. "Second teacher has arrived, let him through." Suddenly, a large voice called out, causing the entire group of disciples to suddenly split into 2 to form a road. A middle-aged man wearing an embroidered robe came striding forward proudly as a light from his eyes like the shine of a sword as he stared at Jian Chen. "Sire, who are you and what reason have you to attack our Huayun sect?" "Without a good reason, then no matter who you are, do not expect to leave this place after today." The man spoke. Hearing this, Jian Chen's eyes grew colder as he spoke. "The Huayun sect has gotten even more arrogant than I thought. It doesn't matter who I am to you, even if I were the prince of the kingdom, you would have me locked up here." The middle-aged man's face twisted with fury, impudence. "Spare me of your glib. I have seen both royal princes of the imperial family. Who are you? Speak your identity or else do not blame our Huayun sect for being impolite." "Impolite? I wanted to see just how impolite you could get. Let me see if you can act on your own words." Jian Chen laughed as the killing intent in his eyes skyrocketed. The middle-aged man could only sneer. There were 3 Heaven Saint Masters within the Huayun sect, making them rise higher in the hierarchy of the Jessan kingdom. No one could match their might, so they refused to place the youth in front of them as anyone important. With a wave of his hand, the man spoke, "Arrest him. If he resists, then do not hold back." Yes. The man obviously held some sort of authority, since every single disciple let out a yell of approval. A dozen disciples had already formed their saint weapons to charge at him and fight. Jian Chen slowly folded his hands across his chest and stood there without moving a muscle. When the disciples had gotten within a 10-meter range, the sand on the ground immediately floated into the air. Carrying an azure and violet light to them, they instantly scattered in every direction. Ah! Straight away, the sounds of pain could be heard as the previously high and mighty disciples of the Huayun sect fell to the ground one by one in pain. Their bodies had been shot through with several holes perforating their entire body. Blood continued to flow down their bodies, dyeing their uniforms red. Some had been severely injured, some had not, and some had been so injured that they died on the spot. The one called the second teacher immediately grew shocked as he looked at the 21-year-old youth in front of him. At this moment, he no longer dared belittle the youth. "Who are you?" The man spoke with some lingering fear in his voice. "What is going on?" At that moment, a deep voice could be heard from behind as the Huayun sect's patriarch Cheng Fei came walking out. Right behind him was another group of disciples. "I pay my respects to the patriarch." The man immediately bowed to the patriarch before explaining, "Patriarch, this youth right here is of unknown origin. He came to attack our Huayun sect with no reason and even destroyed our gates and halls. He also injured several disciples." Seeing the destroyed mountain gates, Cheng Fei's face had a dark look to it. The Huayun sect still had some pent-up anger from the Changyang clan yesterday and had returned to the sect with resentment. For today to have someone causing trouble and destroying the gates, this was simply another thrashing to the Huayun sect's honor. "Who are you and for what reason are you causing trouble at my Huayun sect?" Cheng Fei spoke, his eyes gleaming dangerously. "Patriarch of the Huayun sect, have you forgotten me after all these years? Just yesterday, you came to my home and tried to bully me once more." Jian Chen's biting cold eyes stared at Cheng Fei. Cheng Fei was stunned for a moment before the spark in his eyes reignited. "Are you Changyang Xiangtian?" "Correct, that is me." "Patriarch Cheng, did you still wish to capture and bring me back to your Huayun sect? Right now, I, Changyang Xiangtian, have taken the initiative to come to your sect. How exactly will you deal with me now? Those years ago, you forced me to leave my home, but today, I will settle the debt here and now." Each and every word Jian Chen spoke carried his fierce anger. Cheng Fei had some doubt as he looked at Jian Chen and then right behind him. Then, with a serious expression, he exclaimed, "Senior Chang Wuji, since you've come, you should show yourself." Jian Chen's lips curled up into a cold smile. "There's no need to shout. I came by myself without Chang Bai." Hearing this, Cheng Fei had a look of joy to his eyes and all the worry in his heart evaporated. "Changyang Xiangtian, if you were to stay within the Changyang manor, our Huayun sect would truly have no way to deal with you. Now that you've taken the initiative to come out to seek us, we cannot help ourselves to the prize then." "Humph, your tongue doesn't seem to fear pulling a muscle from overuse. It is unclear which one of us today will die." Jian Chen spoke in disdain. Cheng Fei had a cruel smile on his face as he looked around the ruined gates and halls. With a pejorative voice, he spoke, "Changyang Xiangtian, do not mistake that your experience these past years will help you here. 6 years have gone by, today, I will settle the hatred from when you cut off the arm of my son." Cheng Fei moved back and spoke, "Forward, but don't kill him." The strongest 10 around Cheng Fei instantly took out their saint weapons and disappeared in a blur as they streaked toward Jian Chen. Each one of them were Earth Saint Masters. Although they were Earth Saint Masters, they each could tell from the fact that Jian Chen had wreaked havoc on their gates and halls that he was at the very least an Earth Saint Master. Not daring to belittle him, they all began to go all out. Jian Chen's eyes flashed with a fierce killing intent as the azure and violet sword qi shot out from his fingers. In an instant, several rays flew out toward the incoming Earth Saint Masters. The Earth Saint Masters from the Huayun sect didn't dare to overlook the attack and waved their saint weapons to defend themselves against the blow. With a sharp cracking sound, the sword qi disappeared, causing the attackers to come to a grinding halt. In the next moment, they fell back 3 steps before stabilizing themselves. Although the azure and violet sword qi was barely the width of a finger, the energy it contained was far more than what the Earth Saint Masters could manage. Every single expert of the Huayun sect was greatly shocked, and before they could even calm down and stabilize their footing, another ray of azure and violet sword qi came streaking through the air. Several of the experts hurriedly put up their saint weapons, but 3 of them had been far too late. The sword qi pierced the space between their eyebrows and instantly killed them. As they fell to the ground, their eyes remained wide open in death. Seeing such a spectacle, the elder who was originally watching in amusement instantly grew shocked. "Assist them!" he cried to the ones who had first charged at Jian Chen. The remaining fighters who had been watching with their arms crossed pulled out their saint weapons as well and followed the elder to charge at Jian Chen. The patriarch Cheng Fei revealed a thunderstruck look as he glared at Jian Chen. How is this possible? Changyang Xiangtian is only 21 years old. How could he suddenly become this strong? Even if he is a genius among geniuses, breaking through to the Earth Saint Master realm is far too miraculous. This isn't a strength he should be wielding. Chapter 447, 2 Choices. After the shock subsided, the patriarch of the Huayun sect grew a little dark in the face as his eyes flashed indefinitely. Chang Wuji from the Changyang clan had already placed an incredible amount of pressure on the Huayun sect. Not only were they still pressured even after having 3 Heaven Saint Masters, but now they had some sort of talented child. This situation couldn't help but make Cheng Fei feel concerned. Changyang Xiangtian is 21 years old today, but he has the strength of an Earth Saint Master at the peak of breaking through, it seems. If a person like this grows up, our Huayun sect would be crushed underneath the feet of the Changyang clan. Cheng Fei thought to himself with a fierce expression. Immediately taking out a jade of the motherly twins from his space ring, Cheng Fei crushed it, notifying the Grand Elder hidden within the mountain. Within the deep belly of the mountain behind the Huayun sect, 3 Heaven Saint Masters were gathered there. 2 of the Grand Elders were taking turn imparting their knowledge to the newly broken through Saya. Suddenly, one of the Grand Elders pulled out a small jade piece only for him to see it suddenly split in 2. Seeing the jade break apart, the other Grand Elder and Saya both grew extremely serious. They knew what it meant when jade stone broke. It seems that something is happening within the Huayun sect. Stay here and continue to teach Saya. I'll go see what has happened. The Grand Elder spoke. The other Grand Elder stood up from his stool. I'm sure that something important has happened. Otherwise, Cheng Fei would not have broken the jade of the motherly twins. Why don't the 3 of us go over to see what has happened? Afterward, the 3 Heaven Saint Masters left the mountains and flew toward the sect. Right at the front gates, several loud echoes could be heard as another dozen Earth Saint Masters were sent flying. They flew away from Jian Chen, blood spurting from their mouths. Slamming into the nearby buildings, they flew through the walls, creating holes. Are you truly Changyang Xiangtian? The patriarch of the Huayun sect looked at Jian Chen with a pale face. His heart couldn't bear to accept the sight right in front of him. Dozens of Earth Saint Masters had been defeated by Changyang Xiangtian's hands, making Cheng Fei feel as if the power he had just witnessed was actually a figment of his imagination. He simply couldn't believe it, and began to doubt the identity of the person in front of him. Was he truly the same Changyang Xiangtian who had almost the same strength as his Cheng Mingxiang years ago? With stones crumbling around them, the dozen men who had been knocked straight through the buildings stood back up with pale faces. Standing by Cheng Fei's side, the Earth Saint Masters all looked at Jian Chen with surprised looks. They were just as shocked as Cheng Fei was at his strength. Patriarch Cheng, I, Changyang Xiangtian, stand here today. Show me what power your Huayun sect has here today, show me what you can do. Jian Chen spoke. Changyang Xiangtian, you savage. Our Huayun sect isn't a place where you can behave atrociously. Wait until the Grand Elder comes, we'll see then if you'll be able to move as you please then. An Earth Saint Master by Cheng Fei's side spoke. Just as he finished speaking, 3 large, powerful auras came flying by from behind the Huayun sect. 3 white-robed men quickly appeared in sight before slowly descending toward the Huayun sect. Seeing the 3 Heaven Saint Masters, every single disciple immediately knelt down and cried out, "We pay our respects to the Grand Elders." The layered voices of the disciples was extremely loud and could be heard throughout the Tianhua Mountains. Who are you? Saya's eyes stared dangerously at Jian Chen with an equally dangerous expression, ignoring the disciples. The other 2 Grand Elders didn't speak a word and instead looked around at the destroyed buildings of the nearby area. With each scene of destruction, their expressions turned more serious. The both of them had been Heaven Saint Masters for a very long time, and they could tell that the energy used in these attacks had been comprised of the fire element. Being able to control the world energy was a magical feat that only a Heaven Saint Master was capable of doing. Honored Grand Elders and Master, he is the one that cut off the arm of my son, Changyang Xiangtian. The Patriarch Cheng Fei spoke with gnashed teeth. Now that the 3 Heaven Saint Masters were here, he was filled with confidence and no longer feared Jian Chen. Upon Cheng Fei's words, the 3 Heaven Saint Masters' eyes lit up with a bright gleam as they looked at Jian Chen. Saya immediately lost his calm. Changyang Xiangtian, you have guts. The heavens have left you a road that you ignored, so walk the road to hell without anyone barring your path. Since you've come here to our Huayun sect today, don't expect to leave. Saya held a deep hatred for Jian Chen within his heart. It was because of Jian Chen that he had to go against Chan Wuji, who caused him to lose face in front of so many disciples. This had caused him to brood for many hours. Saya, stay your mouth. Another of the Grand Elders suddenly spoke with a strict tone. Saya immediately stopped speaking at the Grand Elder's command. Although the 3 of them were Heaven Saint Masters, the 2 Grand Elders were extremely high in power, and even he did not dare defy the 2. One of the Grand Elders looked at Jian Chen with a complex look before asking for confirmation, "Are you truly the 4th Master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian?" "Correct, I am Changyang Xiangtian." Jian Chen spoke. After this confirmation, the 2 Grand Elders looked at each other in amazement. Following a small moment of hesitation, one of the Grand Elders spoke, "Changyang Xiangtian, are you here because of yesterday's events?" "That is just the first reason. The second reason is that your Huayun sect used your power to force me to leave my home. Yesterday's affairs only reinforced my old hatred. Today, I will settle that debt." Jian Chen spoke. "Changyang Xiangtian, I have heard about the situation from back then. Although it was Cheng Mingxiang being too excessive, you shouldn't have cut off his arm. You must understand, he was the next heir to the Huayun sect. Your actions weren't something our Huayun sect could just let happen." One of the Grand Elders spoke with an impassive look. "Grand Elder, there's no use speaking words with him, please teach him a lesson right away so that he will know just how strong our Huayun sect is." Cheng Fei looked a little impatient. He had always wanted to take revenge for his son's loss of an arm. Now that the chance was here, he wasn't willing to wait any longer. "Silence!" The Grand Elder roared at Cheng Fei, causing him to shut up immediately. Then, the Grand Elder turned to Jian Chen and spoke seriously, "Changyang Xiangtian, how do you wish to absolve this matter?" Jian Chen grew quiet for a moment before speaking. "The Huayun sect's minister is someone of great merit to the Jessen kingdom, but I do not wish to leave this debt unsettled either. How about this? I will state 2 choices. First, I can destroy the Huayun sect and completely expunge the name of the Huayun sect from the Jessan kingdom. Every single disciple looked extremely furious at such a suggestion, even the Heaven Saint Master Saya grew ashy-faced. Both of his eyes were shooting flames, and if it were not for the Grand Elders, he would have done something way earlier. Even the two Grand Elders' faces became a tad unsightly from his words. Jian Chen continued to speak, or second choice, the four of us can have one large battle to decide things. If you are able to beat me, I will forget about this debt and will pursue it no longer. If you lose however, then I want you two to personally cut off Saya's right arm as punishment for yesterday's ordeal. I also want you to abolish the Patriarch from his position. Finally, Saya could take it no longer and roared, "What an intolerant bully! Changyang Xiangtian, you are far too arrogant. What do you take our Huayun sect? Without Chang Wuji here, what can you do?" The patriarch of the sect also felt the words of Jian Chen to be a bit too much. Even the disciples all around Jian Chen were utterly shocked and looked at Jian Chen as if he was an idiot. The two Grand Elders came to a conclusion at the same time and spoke, "If that is what you want, then let us fight. Let us see just how strong the fourth master of the Changyang clan is. Come." With that, the two Grand Elders flew far away from the Huayun sect. The battle would most definitely impact the Huayun sect with all of the energy from the blows if they were to remain here. Jian Chen spoke no words and wrapped the wind element in the world around his body. Then, he ascended into the air and shot straight for the two Grand Elders. Seeing this, Saya and everyone else in the Huayun sect were utterly dumbfounded. Cheng Fei's jaw dropped open wide enough for a chicken egg to be put in there. No! This isn't possible. How can he fly? This is something only a Heaven Saint Master is capable of doing. Patriarch Cheng Fei spoke with a shudder to his voice as if there was a sudden chill in the air. He is able to control the wind element, how is that possible? At his age, just how was he able to step into the Heaven Saint Master realm? Saya became stupefied as well. Coming from experience, he knew just how hard stepping into the Heaven Saint Master realm was. It had taken him many hundreds of years of bitter cultivation before he had finally achieved a fruitful result. But now, a youth that was barely over 20 years old was able to do what had taken him hundreds of years to do. This was a mental attack that sent his state of mind into disequilibrium. Chapter 448, Battle at Mount Tianhua. 1. Within the imperial palace of the Jessan kingdom, the heavily dressed king had a faint smile on his face as he spoke with the two men at the table with him. There was an elder and a young male who were both dressed in royal clothing. They also exuded a special aura and had a refined way of speaking. These two men were the Prime Minister and the Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. As soon as the Jessan Kingdom had finished its war, the two envoys had set off from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom before finally arriving at the Jessan Kingdom's imperial palace to speak to the king. The king was extremely busy at this point. Yesterday afternoon, he had been talking with envoys from the four kingdoms. All of them shared two important topics. The first topic was to figure out what relationship the Qinhuang Kingdom had with Jessan Kingdom and if they could see one of the imperial advisors. The second was about the compensation they owed. The imperial advisors had already left, so the envoys from the four kingdoms were unable to see them. However, from the deliberate leakage of information from the king, they heard something extremely important. The reason why the imperial advisors came to provide assistance to the Jessan Kingdom was because of the order of an imperial protector from the Qinhuang Kingdom. The reveal that there was an imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom involved had utterly shocked the four envoys into breaking out into cold sweat. They themselves were all high-ranking members in their respective kingdom, so they naturally understood what the rank of an imperial protector symbolized. As if intimidated by the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom, the negotiations went smoothly. Each one of the four kingdoms agreed to pay money and a large amount of monster cores. With just the money alone, the Andreas Kingdom, Blue Wind Kingdom, and the Hidden Dragon Kingdom all agreed to pay a total of 50 million purple coins. With such a large sum, the Jesson Kingdom's empty treasury was quickly recovering. The Pingyang Kingdom was the kingdom to give them the least amount of money, only a single million purple coins. Bursting into tears, the envoy from the Pingyang Kingdom explained to them that a mysterious expert had invaded their treasury and stole everything of value. The 5 kingdoms continued to talk without any additional problems for 2 hours before the king of the Jesson Kingdom gave the order to release the king of the Pingyang Kingdom. Because of the unique position of being the king of the Pingyang Kingdom, he had not been executed yet. Instead, he had been held prisoner within the Northern Stronghold's prison. After the negotiations finished, the king of the Jesson Kingdom didn't pause to take a break. In the next moment, he went to speak with the visiting envoys from the other kingdoms. This led to him being very busy, and with the 2 envoys from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, it was compulsory that he went to greet them personally. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was definitely not a kingdom the Jesson Kingdom could afford to anger. The Prime Minister from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom began to speak with the King of the Jesson Kingdom while the Prince sat by the Prime Minister's side without speaking. The Prime Minister spoke in a roundabout way, trying to understand the situation between the Jesson Kingdom and the Qinhuang Kingdom. At the same time, they were trying to find out the reason why the Qinhuang Kingdom would help the Jesson Kingdom against the other 4 kingdoms. The king of the Jesson Kingdom had already devised an answer for such a topic that would put the Jesson Kingdom in the most advantageous position and emphasized the imperial protector's status. Right now the Jesson Kingdom's relationship with the Qinhuang Kingdom was something even he wasn't too familiar with, but he had no desire to anger the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom either. Upon hearing that the Jesson King had an imperial protector helping his kingdom, the Prime Minister and the Prince from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom grew solemn. Speaking several more words to the king, they switched topics to the second task given to the Prime Minister by his own king. Your Royal Highness, I've heard Princess Gulan is already 20 years old and is still not yet married. Our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom hopes that our 2 kingdoms will become allies for many generations, so this servant has come here today to propose a marriage. Our kingdom hopes that the Princess Jelen will be wedded to our Heavenly Kingdom's second prince. The Prime Minister spoke with a faint smile. Hearing this, the Jesson Kingdom's king had an embarrassed look on his face. Several years ago, he had engaged Princess Jelen to the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. This was done in hopes that an expert would be linked to the imperial family and also because Kafir had constantly praised him for his talent. If Changyang Xiangtian were to die in those years when he was gone, the wedding would naturally be cancelled and the king would find another candidate for the princess' hand in marriage. 2 days ago, he had heard that Changyang Xiangtian had returned back home. Since things had progressed like this, he would naturally not break the engagement first and honor it. The Changyang clan of now was far different than the one before. With Chan Wuji revealing his strength, the Changyang clan had risen in power. Even the imperial palace wouldn't dare offend them easily. Most importantly, the king of the Jesson Kingdom couldn't help but be skeptical of the reason why the Qinhuang Kingdom was so willing to help the Jesson Kingdom. He had thought that it was because of the Changyang clan. It was very possible the mysteriously vanished ancestor of the Changyang clan had been responsible for this, so the king of the Jesson Kingdom didn't dare neglect the Changyang clan. After thinking for a moment, the king of the Jesson Kingdom replied, Prime Minister Che, Yuer is my only precious daughter. I cannot so easily discuss this without speaking to her and seeing what she wishes for. That is of no problem, His Majesty is a good father, this official truly admires such a trait. Prime Minister Che didn't rush the decision and smiled. Even the Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom did not show any dissatisfaction on his face and was extremely calm. After several more words, the 2 envoys from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom left to rest. As soon as they left, the king of the Jesson Kingdom let out a long sigh before closing his eyes and rubbing his temples. Being united with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom through marriage was something that would make the king's heart pound. If they were to do this, the Jessen kingdom would surely benefit from such a contract and would be vital in the development of the entire kingdom. If there is no connection between the Qinhuang kingdom and ancestor Changyang, what should I do? Do I anger the heavenly eagle kingdom and honor the marriage with Changyang Xiangtian, or do I anger the Changyang clan for the heavenly eagle kingdom? The king muttered to himself. In his position as king, he naturally had to put the kingdom's development first and foremost. Although he loved his daughter dearly, but even he could not move about freely. Although he knew Changyang Xiangtian of the Changyang clan was no ordinary genius, in his heart, he knew that Changyang Xiangtian's growth would take a very long time. At the very least, it would take 10 years, at the very most, it would take well over 100 years. This was a time span that he couldn't wait for. The king of the Jessen kingdom wasn't sure why the Qinhuang kingdom had helped them, but if it was because of some senior having a friendship with the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom, it did not guarantee a second time of assistance. He had to bring his Jessen kingdom onto the more definite path. At the peak of the Tianhua Mountains, the winds blew with an ear-piercing whistle as if demons were screaming. A short distance away from the Huayun sect, the white-robed Jian Chen stood in the sky and faced off against 3 others. It is no wonder you were so arrogant, you were a heaven saint master. Saya spoke with a dark expression of jealousy. Jian Chen ignored Saya completely. Saya had only just entered the heaven saint master realm and so his strength had not yet stabilized. Furthermore, a first cycle heaven saint master was a very lowly existence to them. Jian Chen paid attention to the 2 grand elders. Make your move, but don't say I didn't warn you. If you do not go all out, you will lose very miserably. The 2 grand elders weren't angered by his words, but their faces darkened slightly. They were aware of Jian Chen's speed with the wind element and the fact that his control over the world energy was stronger than theirs. Giving a mutual glance to each other, the 2 grand elders knew what each other was thinking. Immediately taking out identical-looking saint weapons, they shot 2 rays of sword qi toward Jian Chen. Saya hadn't slacked off in speed either. Forming a great sword in his hands, he quickly flew toward Jian Chen. He had full confidence that with the 2 grand elders attacking at the same time, Jian Chen would stand no chance by himself. Jian Chen's hands swiped at the sky, causing all of the fire elements in the world to gather at unbelievable speeds. In an instant, 3 blades made of fire materialized in midair and shot toward the 3. Bang! After a loud explosion, flames began to spread throughout the area and illuminated the skies. The intense energy engulfed the clouds completely. Afterward, the skies cleared up to show a plain blue sight. The 2 sword qi had been broken apart by the blow while Saya had been forced back. However, with the saint force covering his body, it provided a form of protection against the plumes of fire. Jian Chen's body flickered for a moment before flying toward Saya with the help of the wind element. His right hand opened up to form an open palm before collecting all the fire elements to form a giant ball of the element. In a battle like this, you have no right to participate. Remove yourself. Jian Chen spoke icily before shooting out with a lightning-fast palm. As soon as the palm drew close to Saya's chest, the energy within the palm exploded abruptly. The energy shattered Saya's defenses and slammed into his chest fiercely. Pfch. Saya spat out a mouthful of blood before turning pale in the face. Losing control of his body, he fell back down to the earth like a kite with its string cut. He was only just a man who had recently become a heaven saint master. His strength was still at its lowest, and even just flying was something unfamiliar to him. So, against Jian Chen, who had a countless amount of experience fighting against other heaven saint masters, Saya stood no chance. Chapter 449, Battle at Mount Tianhua, 2. Seeing how Saya had been defeated, the 2 grand elders looked startled for a moment before once more re-evaluating Jian Chen. Who would have known a youth like him would possess a strength that is no less than mine? How inconceivable. Both Grand Elders thought to themselves, but their hands didn't stop moving and quickly brought their saint weapons down toward Jian Chen. Possibly to prevent him from injuring Saya anymore. Jian Chen's eyes burst with an azure and violet glow, causing several trees down below to explode into a storm of splinters that shot upward as if attracted to the two Grand Elders. While this was happening, the two Grand Elders both looked at it with astonishment before covering their bodies with saint force. At this moment, Saya finally regained control of his body and brought the world energy around him once more, suspending his body in midair. His face grew dark as he looked at Jian Chen, but in his mind, he couldn't help but think to what Jian Chen had said to him. In a battle like this, you have no right to participate, remove yourself. At this very moment, Saya was feeling extremely humiliated. It was clear to see that Jian Chen saw him as an annoyance, and for a person who had just become a high-level expert within the continent, this was a huge blow to the Heaven Saint Master Saya. With just a single blow, he had lost to the hands of a 21-year-old. Changyang Xiangtian. As he floated in midair, Saya's face contorted with a venomous look as he spat out Changyang Xiangtian's name as if burning the name into his memory. Higher up in the sky, the two Grand Elders didn't dare ignore the countless swarm of splinters. Their saint force surged out in the form of a protective layering over their bodies. This was the only way they would be able to endure and resist the splinters' attacks. As the splinters slammed into the two Grand Elders, their saint force protective layering shuddered for a moment as if they were about to break under the strain. The two Grand Elders grew shocked. The attack of the splinters was far more ferocious than they had thought. Without any more hesitation, the two let out a roar as a surge of saint force exploded from within their bodies and solidified the protections around their bodies even more. Because of this added defense, their barriers solidified, but the consumption to their saint force was extremely taxing. They would not be able to maintain them for long. Advanced Earth Tier Battle Skill, Splendid Flames. One of the two Grand Elders boomed. The fire elements in the world began to form a 2-meter-long sphere of flames that then shot toward Jian Chen. The other Grand Elder took the chance to escape from the barrage of splinters and shouted, "Void Executioner." With that, the Grand Elder's giant sword let out a dazzling ray of yellow light as it swung toward Jian Chen. Jian Chen's hands unfurled from his chest as he began to control the splinters filling the air to form two giant swords. Both swords grew bright with an azure and violet color and were 10 meters long and half a meter in thickness. Swish! Seeing the azure and violet light, the two swords made from tree splinters instantly flew toward the two Grand Elders. Bang! One sword made contact with the ball of flames, creating a loud explosion. The ball of flames ruptured, filling the entire area with its fire and coloring the place red. Even the nearby clouds evaporated from the fire. At the same time, the other sword clashed with the sword of the Grand Elder. The wooden sword from Jian Chen was smashed apart by the Grand Elder's advanced Earth Tier battle skill, but the Grand Elder had been affected since his battle skill was cancelled before it could be fully used. Take on my Void Executioner one more time. The Grand Elder shouted as he used his battle skill once more on Jian Chen. Jian Chen's lips revealed a small smile. If it was a Heaven Tier battle skill, it would have done just a small amount of damage to him, but an Earth Tier battle skill would have no effect on him. Bang! Bang! Another group of trees exploded underneath them before the splinters formed another long sword that shot into the sky. The two sides met head-on, the newly formed sword blocking the Grand Elder's Void Executioner. Having his Earth Tier battle skill blocked by the opponent so easily twice now, the Grand Elder of the Huayun sect couldn't help but lose his cool for a moment. The Void Executioner was the strongest battle skill he had in his repertoire, and if that did not do anything, he had no other options left. Damn it, let's see how many times you can accept my attacks, Void Executioner. The Grand Elder's veins began to bulge with exertion and impatience. For him to be so helpless against a 21-year-old, this was something his honor would not accept. Thus he used his battle skill a third time. "Brother, I'll be there in a moment." Seventh sword stance of the Flame God. The other Grand Elder's hand held a flaming sword that flew at Jian Chen, creating a pincer attack. "It's over." Jian Chen spoke softly as the azure and violet color glows began to fade away. A rich substance of azure and violet sword chi shot out from his right hand as the origin energy of the sword spirits followed after it. The origin energy of the sword spirits left behind a splendid light as it flew through the sky before making contact with the saint weapon of the elder using the Void Executioner battle skill. Ding! Following the clean breaking sound, the origin energy broke a part off of the saint weapon as if it was tofu. The Grand Elder let out a mouthful of blood before he flew back and looked at Jian Chen in shock. At the same time, the other Grand Elder approached Jian Chen and prepared to cut him down with the yellow color-infused saint weapon. Brandishing the origin energy of the sword spirits without fear, Jian Chen clashed with the other Grand Elder. Straight after the clash, the Grand Elder let out a look of shock as blood slipped out from his mouth before he flew back. "Impossible, how did you damage my saint weapon?" The Grand Elder shouted in complete shock and disbelief. Not willing to let either of the two go, Jian Chen allowed the wind elements in the air to speed him toward the two men. With the origin energy, he slashed at one of the two, forcing the Grand Elder to bring up his saint weapon to defend it. Ding! Once again, the Grand Elder's saint weapon gained another jagged edge to it. With the saint weapon taking damage, the Grand Elder took on damage as well, coughing out another 3 mouthfuls of blood and turning deathly pale. After the exchange, the two Grand Elders knew just how terrifying this origin energy Jian Chen was. The other Grand Elder immediately knew that Jian Chen wasn't going to stop attacking and quickly shouted several words, "Changyang Xiangtian, stay your hand." Stopping for a moment, Jian Chen wrapped the wind element around his body as he rose into the sky with his handsome figure. The origin energy sword in his right hand continued to swallow up the air around it, making him look like a powerful war god. Jian Chen looked to the Grand Elder that had spoken without saying a single word. The Grand Elder with a gap in his saint weapon looked at the other heavily injured Grand Elder and let out a sigh. After a long period of hesitation, he spoke with resignation, "We lose." As he spoke, the Grand Elder looked as if he had aged. His elderly face sagged in depression. The other Grand Elder floated in midair with a stunned look on his face. He didn't even attempt to wipe the blood from his mouth and it spilled onto his clothes as he vacantly stood there. This result was something that no one could have predicted or accept. These two elderly Heaven Saint Masters had fought together and still ended up losing to the younger generation. What was more humiliating was the fact that this youth was still just 21 years old. Age. We have aged. There is no other words to describe it. Changyang Xiangtian, you've won. We have lost to your hand. The Grand Elder sighed with a depressed look. Saya flew up from down below with a look of disbelief, knowing that he was in a perilous situation now. Absorbing the origin energy, Jian Chen wrapped both hands around his chest. "Fellow Grand Elders, we should take care of our remaining business. After this, we will be able to go home." The two Grand Elders let out long sighs as they nodded. Without another word, they turned to fly toward the Huayun sect grounds. All the disciples back at the sect instantly dropped whatever they were doing and gathered where the four were returning. A chattering sound could be heard as they gathered. The chattering sound instantly died down when the four landed on the ground. The previous commotion from 1,000 people instantly grew silent. When they saw what state the four people were in, every disciple was astonished and their faces filled with disbelief. Among the four, only Jian Chen was perfectly fine without looking any different than when he had come to fight. The two Grand Elders and Saya all looked extremely pale with blood flowing from their lips. Both of the Grand Elders looked depressed even, allowing those with a keen eye to figure out just what the conclusion was. At this sight, even the previously confident Cheng Fei grew despondent, unable to believe what he was seeing. Cheng Fei immediately walked toward the two Grand Elders and spoke nervously, "Grand Elders, what was the result?" The Grand Elders' appearances were more than enough for him to guess the answer, but he wasn't willing to believe it. Chapter 450, Startling the imperial family. At this sight, even the previously confident Cheng Fei grew despondent, unable to believe what he was seeing. Cheng Fei immediately walked toward the two Grand Elders and spoke nervously, "Grand Elders, what was the result?" The Grand Elders' appearances were more than enough for him to guess the answer, but he wasn't willing to believe it. One of the Grand Elders let out a sigh as he gave a guilty look to Cheng Fei. It was with a depressed look that the elder finally spoke, "Cheng Fei, from today on, you are no longer the patriarch of the Huayun sect." The phrase was spoken with a deathly serious but resigned expression. The Huayun sect was founded a few hundred years ago with a strength that was initially weaker than the royal family. They were able to surpass the royal family in strength with 3 Heaven Saint Masters. However, this spectacle where the present acting patriarch was removed from his position right in front of all the disciples was a mark of utter shame. Such shame would never be washed away from the history of the sect. Ever since the foundation of the Huayun sect, they had weathered many storms and faced many perils. However, such a great wind like this had never battered them to such a miserable extent before. With the reason being a 21-year-old youth, this was something not a single one of the sect could prepare for emotionally. Cheng Fei's face turned extremely pale as his entire body slackened in disbelief. 2 Grand Elders and Saya, a 3rd Heaven Saint Master, still ended up losing against the 4th Master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. And no, that can't be. Cheng Fei was crestfallen at this unbearable fact. He knew that Changyang Xiangtian was no older than his son, Cheng Mingxiang, and had only formed his saint weapon a mere 6 years ago at most. In the span of several years, the little saint had been the carp that leaped over the dragon's gate and transformed to become a Heaven Saint Master. Even more shocking, he was able to defeat 3 Heaven Saint Masters by himself without a single scratch. It came to Cheng Fei as such a shock that he started to think that the 3 Heaven Saint Masters were putting on a show for him. Even the other disciples of the Huayun sect were astonished, their mouths dropping wide open. Each one looked on in disbelief as they tried to stomach the result given to them. AI. One of the Grand Elders let out a mighty sigh as he grew dejected. His entire body seemed to have aged as he spoke, "Changyang Xiangtian, you should be content by now. Our previous debt with you is now wiped. I sincerely hope that the Huayun sect and the Changyang clan will have no further animosity with each other." After such a battle, both Grand Elders had realized just how strong Jian Chen was. This strength of his made them afraid even. Given some time, the 2 Grand Elders were completely faithful that Jian Chen would be able to step into the realm of the saint rulers. Jian Chen's arms wrapped across his chest as he stood there with a proud look before staring at the ashen face. "Saya, Grand Elders, you seem to have forgotten something. There is still an arm that needs to be taken." The 2 Grand Elders blanched. Saya was a Heaven Saint Master and thus was another sum of wealth to the Huayun sect. They absolutely didn't wish for anything to happen to Saya, and if his right arm was cut off, Saya's strength would be drastically decreased. As a Heaven Saint Master, even a lowly one, he would never be able to show his true power. Changyang Xiangtian, the Changyang clan and our Huayun sect have been friends since a few hundred years ago. I hope you will forgive us for our mistakes. Although Saya's actions yesterday were not right, it didn't end in disaster. I hope that you will forgive him. A Grand Elder began to speak with a pleading voice. He and the other Grand Elder had no wish to fight against Jian Chen's strength. Absolutely not. Jian Chen's words were resolute without any leverage for negotiations. His eyes had a barely concealed gleam to them as he spoke. "You should be rejoicing the fact that nothing too disastrous happened yesterday. Otherwise, the Huayun sect would not be spared by my hand, founding minister or not. I wished for Sia's arm. If you do not cut it off, I will do it myself. If that happens, it will not be gentle, and I won't be able to guarantee that he will remain alive. The two grand elders looked troubled at this and fidgeted around for a long time without moving. They were loath to give up one of the strongest figures within the Huayun sect. But against Jian Chen, they were equally afraid of angering him and causing their entire sect to be affected by his rage. Suddenly, Xia cried out, "Fine, Changyang Xiangtian, if you want my right arm, I will give it to you." With that, Xia's left hand formed his saint weapon and immediately chopped at his right arm. PCHT. Blood sprinkled through the air as Xia's right arm came dropping down. The intense pain caused Xia's face to contort, but he had been able to restrain himself from shouting out loud. "Changyang Xiangtian, is this enough for you or not?" Xia's eyes were bloodshot as he spoke each word to Jian Chen with a venomous amount of hatred. Jian Chen let out a cold smile. "Xia, from today on, we have no quarrel. But remember to know your place. If you dare try to act against my Changyang clan in any negative way, you will live to regret it. Be sure that you don't implicate your Huayun sect in such matters." Xia's teeth grit together without a sound as he remained silent. Right now, Xia suddenly realized that this sight was like the one from yesterday. Only, it was he that stood in Jian Chen's place, and all of the disciples around them were the guards of the Changyang clan. If only he had not acted in such a way yesterday, today's events wouldn't have ended like this. "Changyang Xiangtian, are you satisfied now?" One of the grand elders spoke ominously. Jian Chen gave a carefree smile and cupped his hands together. "Now that our matters have been resolved, I will be leaving now, farewell." As he finished speaking, another figure cloaked in red immediately came streaking by. In a flash, he landed by Jian Chen's side. This person was wearing a cyan-colored robe and was the housekeeper of the Changyang clan, Chang Wuji. Chang Wuji had been extremely concerned in regards to Jian Chen. So he had quickly rushed from the Changyang clan in hopes that he could prevent anything bad from happening. However, when he saw the scene in front of him, his heart instantly slackened. Despite the Huayun sect looking miserable, they were still living. "Uncle Chang, why have you come?" Jian Chen asked in confusion, but he still respected him nonetheless. Chang Wuji looked at Jian Chen first to see if there were any wounds. Afterward, he revealed a smile and spoke, "Fourth Master, I had been wondering if the issue had been resolved yet." Jian Chen explained the situation to Chang Wuji for a moment before Chang Wuji let out a sigh. "It seems this old servant came out here for nothing. The fourth master has already taken care of things." With that, Chang Wuji looked to the severed right arm of Xia with a look of joy at Xia's pain. The Huayun sect only just received a heaven saint master, causing the disciples to feel extremely proud. But not even a couple days later, the very same heaven saint master came to an abrupt end. This was not only an attack to the Huayun sect, it was an utter disgrace. Jian Chen laughed, "Uncle Chang, if there isn't anything else, let us return home now." Chang Wuji nodded his head as well before cupping his hands to the two grand elder, Tian Qingdao, Tian Qingjian. "If you have nothing to do in the future, please drop by the Changyang clan. Farewell. See yourself out." The two grand elders spoke with unsightly faces. Afterward, Jian Chen and Chang Wuji both streaked through the sky, leaving behind the dejected disciples from the Huayun sect. Today's events had left a deep strike through everyone. But the three heaven saint masters who had been very prideful before had felt the strongest blow. The fact that the fourth master of the Changyang clan had been able to cause such trouble at the Huayun sect was not circulated around. However, informers of the imperial family were the first to know about such a matter. By afternoon within the imperial palace of the Jessan kingdom, the prime minister of the heavenly eagle kingdom had once more seeked out the king. And once more, he had asked for the two kingdoms to be united through marriage with a respectful plead. The king of the Jessan kingdom was naturally excited to have the two kingdoms united through marriage. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was in fact, the #1 kingdom around. Even during the golden age of the Joseon Kingdom, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was still many times stronger than it. If they were to join together, the previously weakened Joseon Kingdom would become extremely strong. Since Chang Wuji revealed his strength, the status of the Changyang clan had risen within the king's mind. Combined with the genius that was the fourth master, he was unclear on what to do. It was possible that the Qinhuang kingdom had a connection with the ancestor of the Changyang clan, so the king had been unable to make a decision on just whom he should engage his precious daughter to. If he were to marry his daughter to the Changyang clan, it would be a gamble with an outcome beyond his expectations. It was possible that he would even anger the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The gains wouldn't even begin to compare to the losses. If he married his daughter to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, the Joseon Kingdom would begin to see the profits straight away. These two outcomes were completely black and white in comparison to each other. Suddenly, a heavily armored man came running into the palace with a red insignia on his shoulders. This insignia held an especially special power within the Joseon Kingdom and would be able to meet with the king straight away if there was an extremely urgent message. With this insignia, absolutely no one would dare bar the way for the man to see the king. A report for your majesty from the people within the Huayun sect. It is extremely urgent. The black-armored man immediately cried out as he stepped into the palace. At the sign of the armored man with the insignia on his shoulders, the king immediately grew serious. A maid took the letter from the soldier's hand and brought it to him. Taking the letter from the maid, the king immediately cut short his conversation with the Prime Minister of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and read it. In an instant, the king leaped from his throne and his hands began to shake as he read the letter with wide eyes. Your Majesty, what has happened? The seated Prime Minister asked curiously. The king looked as if he hadn't heard the words of the Prime Minister and immediately looked through the letter one last time in confirmation. Letting out a sigh in shock, he immediately strode for the exit before ordering, prepare a large gift. I wish to head for Lore City, tell the commander by Dao to see me right away. The Prime Minister sprang up from his chair and spoke to the king, Your Majesty, we were still talking about the unison of our two kingdoms, my apologies, Prime Minister. My daughter Yuer was engaged a few years back. The king of the Joseon Kingdom replied to the Prime Minister and left the palace in a great hurry without even waiting for a response. Chapter 451, Black Armors. As the king disappeared, the Prime Minister muttered to himself, so what if there is a prior engagement? It is not like they are married, these engagements can be cancelled. The Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom cannot just come on a fool's errand. After speaking with the Joseon Kingdom's king, the Prime Minister had more or less confirmed the relations between the Joseon Kingdom and the Qinhuang Kingdom. Previously, he had thought the two were close, but now he knew that there was no intimate relations between the two kingdoms, alleviating a good amount of his fears. Jian Chen's commotion at the Huayun sect hadn't been mentioned to anyone outside the sect. If news that the patriarch of the sect had been forced out was revealed by any disciple, they would be expelled and punished severely. The Huayun sect had to protect their status within the Joseon Kingdom and prevent the news of what happened from leaking at any costs. If someone were to find out that the fourth master of the Changyang clan had caused such trouble at the Huayun sect, the Huayun sect's prestige would collapse and their development would come to a standstill. At the same time, the Changyang clan would benefit from this and their prestige would raise at the same time as the Huayun sects plummeted. The two grand elders were not willing for this to happen at all. Jian Chen and Chang Wuji had already returned to the Changyang clan, but right now, only Chang Wuji, Changyang Ba, and Bai Yuntian knew what Jian Chen had done. They chose to remain silent on the matter, but were happy nonetheless. Who would have known that the incomparably strong Huayun sect would be dominated by their own child? Jian Chen's military might and success was something both of his parents were extremely proud of. Afterward, Jian Chen remained within the clan and didn't walk out often, choosing to spend his days by his mother's side, talking. Because the tiger cub had still not finished absorbing the heavenly resources, the cub remained in Jian Chen's room sleeping on his bed. The tiger cub was growing at an even faster rate. Jian Chen could sense a presence flowing from the tiger cub with a strength that was at the level of a Class 2 magical beast. As long as this progression continued, it would become a Class 3 magical beast within several days. Within Lore City in a luxurious inn, a red-robed man around the age of 27 sat by a table and drank some wine while his eyes glanced around the place idly. One of the waiters came by with a platter of steaming magical beast meat and gently set it on the table with a bow of her head. "Honored customer, your meal is here. Is there anything else you wish for?" When it came to this red-robed youth, all of the workers within the inn knew about him. That was because this youth had already lived within the inn for a month in their best room and ate their best foods. He had plenty of money and was quite well spoken. Sometimes, he would give gold coins as a reward, and after an entire month, the entire staff had already been given a considerable amount of money that was well worth an entire year's worth of pay. And so, every single worker in this inn considered this youth a god of wealth almost. With a wave of his hand, the waitress retreated back, allowing him to dig into his delicious meal with vigor. "Why is it that I cannot find Jian Chen? With his status and strength, he should be well known within Lore City. But, why is it that when I ask around, no one has heard of Jian Chen's name before? Could it be that Jian Chen isn't his real name?" The youth spoke to himself in a low voice. He had only been in Lore City for a month. After the ending of the gathering of the mercenaries, Jian Chen had given him instructions to find him in Lore City of the Jessan Kingdom. But what area in Lore City, he didn't know. It's time to wait then. Jian Chen should have exited the Holy Lands by now. If he comes from Mercenary City, it'll take him several months to get here if he doesn't use a space gate. The youth sighed before growing silent to dig back into his meal. At the same time, within the stronghold of the Jessan Kingdom, two middle-aged men came riding at a slow pace on top of two Class 3 magical beast mounts before seeing the rubble everywhere. One of the two males was around 40 years old with a bald head. He had an excellent physique that bulged with muscles. His appearance was so noticeable, it could be considered an attack on a person. The other person looked weaker than the first and wore a cyan-colored robe. His black hair was draped over his shoulder and he had a scholarly look to him. Both of his eyes glowed with a sharp look as well. "Yunzheng, take a look at that stronghold. That should be the Jessan Kingdom." The stronger-looking man pointed at the destroyed stronghold. Hearing this, Yunzheng took out a map from his space belt and gave it a look before nodding. "That's right, according to the map, the Jessan Kingdom is right in front of us. Seeing how the stronghold is damaged like that, they must have just had a war. There's still a bloody stench in the air." The burly man let out a sigh. "After half a year of traveling, we've finally reached the Jessan Kingdom. Let's not care about it and go find a city to rest up in. I haven't had any good meat in a long time. After eating, we can take it easy as we head to Lore City." Outside of Lore City, 5 men of varying ages wore rich-looking robes as they walked the path. Each one of them looked rather ordinary, but the auras they exuded were anything but. They even affected the merchants and mercenaries traveling on the same road as them so that the people subconsciously drew away from them as if they didn't dare get closer. From a distance, the walls to Lore City could already be seen. Luo Tian's hand held a gourd of wine, drinking it viciously as he walked. Then, he turned to the elder right next to him. "Xiao Tian, Lore City is a first-class city with an equally large area. Where are we going to find the Imperial Protector?" Xiao Tian shook his head. The Imperial Protector wasn't clear in his instructions. "Let us wait for what happens afterward to see." "Ah, is the Imperial Protector truly from the Jessan Kingdom? Why is such a strong person like the Imperial Protector so unknown within the Jessan Kingdom? This is far too outrageous." Qing Xiaofan spoke questioningly. "I find this strange as well. With the strength of the Imperial Protector, the entire Jessen kingdom should know about him. Instead, he is completely unknown. This is quite strange. Dongyi Junbai spoke. Xiao Tian looked at the others with a displeased look. That's enough. We are already on the main roads. There isn't a need to talk about such a topic. A question like this will be easily resolved later. Suddenly, the sounds of hooves could be heard trotting across the ground from behind as a large group of black armored soldiers came storming forward on their magical beast mounts. A single trail of smoke rose up above the ground as they traversed through the area. Banners could be seen hoisted in the air, causing every single merchant and mercenary to pale. That's the black armors, quick, get out of the way. One of the merchants cried out in shock before forcing his carriage to the side to allow the force to ride past. Then, they each looked at the army as they blew past them with looks of confusion. The black armors are the strongest force that protects the imperial family. They rarely come out, so what's going on today for their entire force to assemble in such a frantic manner? Did something happen? Many of the mercenaries began to question. At that moment, the 5 imperial advisors walking up front turned around to look at the charging black armors. AI, isn't that the king of the Jessen kingdom? Why is he running in such a hurry? Could he be looking for us? Luo Tian spoke with surprise. The black armors were moving at a high speed and quickly came close to the imperial advisors. At that moment, the leader of the black armors that was protecting the king of the Jessen kingdom instantly realized who those 5 were. He immediately waved his hand and cried out, "Halt!" Instantly, the black armors stopped their charge, allowing the king time to dismount from his mount to quickly walk up to the 5 imperial advisors with a warm smile and bow. This one had no idea that we would come across the honored imperial advisors here. How coincidental. When the other black armors recognized who these experts were, they immediately bowed their heads in greeting as well. Your Majesty, seeing how rushed you are, has something happened? Dongyi Junbai spoke with a curious look. The king let out a smile. This might be unbelievable to the honored imperial advisors, but there is an exceptional expert within our Jessen kingdom. Despite being so young, he has already become a Heaven Saint Master. Just by himself, he was able to defeat 3 other Heaven Saint Masters without being damaged himself. Even this king is amazed at such a feat. Hearing this, each one of the 5 imperial advisors looked at each other in surprise and amazement before Xiao Tian spoke. Your Majesty, who might this person be? He is the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. The king didn't hide anything at all and gave a bright smile. In his heart, he knew that with Changyang Xiangtian's talent, even the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom would wish to bring him into their friendship. With the engagement from Changyang Xiangtian to his daughter and the connection with the Qinhuang kingdom, the Jessen kingdom would surely profit from this. It was very possible that Changyang Xiangtian would be able to bring the relationship between the 2 kingdoms to an even higher height. The 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. The 5 imperial advisors had made sure to remember that name. Immediately, the 5 of them agreed to follow the king to the Changyang clan. Against such a request, the king had no desire to deny them and agreed with a straightforward response. In his heart, he was overjoyed. Everything was going according to plan. Chapter 452, Revealing his identity. Afterward, the 5 imperial advisors and the king of the Jessen kingdom entered Lore City, and made their through the streets before ultimately stopping right outside the gates to the Changyang clan. The black armors quickly cordoned the area and stood guard to protect the king. Although the 5 imperial advisors were here, making it impossible for harm to befall the king, the black armors still had a job to do. Standing right beside the king, the commander of the black armors, Bai Dao, stood with a stony expression as he looked at the Changyang clan. All sorts of feelings could be felt within his heart. He didn't know what to feel exactly after being told of the news by the king. The Changyang clan had long since heard that the king was coming. Therefore many of the higher-ranking members had already gathered by the gates. Even Chanyangba and Chang Wuji were standing at the very front with the elders of the clan behind them. Jian Chen and the ants were right behind the elders. We welcome His Majesty to our Changyang clan. His Majesty truly does bring grace to our clan. The leader of the clan, Changyangba, smiled while Chang Wuji stood by his side. Grabbing the present from one of the black armor's soldiers, the king handed it over to Changyangba and smiled. This king hasn't been to Lore City in a long time. Since I had the time today, I decided to pay a visit. I do hope this king isn't interrupting anything. Changyangba let out a chuckle as he spoke a few words to the king before looking to the 5 imperial advisors right behind him with a startled look. Hurriedly, he bowed to them and spoke. This one didn't think that the honored imperial advisors would come by as well. Our Changyang clan has neglected ourselves. Please come in. To the 5 imperial advisors, Changyangba's face grew even more prudent without daring to be impolite. Chang Wuji bowed to the 5 imperial advisors as well before speaking several polite words. Then, he invited the group enthusiastically into the clan. If the 5 imperial advisors were to stay as guests within the Changyang clan, it would be a tremendous honor for the Changyang clan. Even the guards and elders of the Changyang clan all grew excited and happy when they saw the imperial advisors come walking into the clan compound. Seeing how enthusiastic Changyangba and Chang Wuji were, the 5 imperial advisors didn't wish to look rude either. With happy smiles, they returned the polite greetings and spoke with words that were even more polite than the ones they had spoken back at the imperial palace. Afterward, the king and the other black armor soldiers around him followed the 5 imperial advisors past the gates. The king spoke in somewhat of a rush. Changyangba, I've heard that Changyang Xiangtian has returned. Where might he be, and if possible, would this king be able to see him? Even though he is my future son-in-law, I've yet to see him still, ha ha ha. A faint smile could be seen on Changyangba's face while his heart seemed to glow brighter as he looked behind the elders to Jian Chen. Xianger, come greet His Majesty. Perhaps, it would be more appropriate to call him father-in-law. Chang Wuji suddenly spoke with a smile. Hearing this, the king was startled for a moment before quickly letting out a smile while Changyangba showed a great big cheerful smile on his face. The dozen elders quickly made a path through them as the white-robed, handsome Jian Chen came striding forward to bow toward the king. With a small smile, he spoke with neither a servile nor overbearing voice. Changyang Xiangtian pays his respect to His Majesty. Looking at Jian Chen with a serious expression, the king took notice of Jian Chen's short hair, his handsome appearance, and the perfect balance of his face that no one could complain about. All this was combined with a pale white skin that suited his appearance and caused many females to be jealous. Jian Chen was practically a walking killer of women. With his handsome and determined face, Jian Chen had clearly matured and did not look like a person that could be trifled with. Good. Very good. Seeing his future son-in-law, the king was pleased, and spoke only those 3 words. As a king, he had seen many people, but even he could tell that Jian Chen was by no means an everyday face. Hearing about him and seeing him in person were 2 different things. Now that he had met Jian Chen, his evaluation of him had instantly gone up. He is truly a dragon among men. The king sighed in admiration. By his side, Changyangba had a prideful smile for his son. When the 5 imperial advisors saw Jian Chen, they were shocked. Giving each other a look, they immediately strode forward and cupped their hands with them as they spoke. We pay our respects to the imperial protector. When the 5 said, Imperial protector, the faces of both Changyangba and the king of the Jessen kingdom instantly froze up. Blankly, they looked at how the 5 imperial advisors greeted Jian Chen and stood there without speaking for a long time. All of the elders and guards of the Changyang clan and the black armor soldiers protecting the king had the same expression on their faces as well. Each one stared at the 5 imperial advisors greeting Jian Chen with stupefied looks. Imperial protector? Just what reason are the 5 imperial advisors from the powerful Qinhuang kingdom calling Changyang Xiangtian imperial protector? The third aunt by Yushuang spoke with surprise. In her heart, shock had completely washed over her. Jian Chen forced out a smile as he looked at Xiao Tian and the others. I didn't think you would be able to find me so quickly. Qing Xiaofan looked around before letting out a small smile. Honored imperial protector, I hope we did not cause any trouble for you. Jian Chen let out a small breath of air, but before he could speak, Chang Yongba's voice rang out first. Xianger, just what exactly is happening? Chang Yongba's voice trembled as he tried to hide the confusion in his words. Everyone had heard Changyang Xiangtian referred to as the imperial protector, but none of them could believe it. The 5 imperial advisors had unexpectedly called his own son an imperial protector. Could that possibly mean that the reason why the Qinhuang kingdom, specifically the 5 imperial advisors, had traveled countless of kilometers to provide assistance to the Jessan kingdom was because of his own son, Changyang Xiangtian? At that moment, Chang Wuji and the king regained their consciousness and looked at Jian Chen in shock while also waiting for his response. Jian Chen hesitated for a moment before he spoke. Father, we should speak about this in the hall. Chang Yongba snapped out of his shock as well and quashed the tremors in his heart. Quickly, he spoke, yes, let us go to the hall. Your Majesty, honored imperial advisors, please follow me inside. After speaking, the upper echelons of the Changyang clan, the king of the Jessan kingdom, and the 5 imperial advisors all walked into the hall. Jian Chen's mother, and his 3 aunts originally didn't have any right to participate in this discussion. However, now that a connection between Jian Chen and the Qinhuang kingdom had been revealed, they summoned their courage to join the conversation. Because there weren't enough chairs for everyone, the elders of the Changyang clan were the first to give up their seats. The elders standing to the side did not speak a single word, instead they stared at Jian Chen with looks of utter shock. In their minds, they couldn't help but think to what they had just heard. The 5 imperial advisors had unexpectedly called the 4th master Changyang Xiangtian their imperial protector. They could hardly believe such a thing had happened. Seeing how the elders refused to sit and instead stood by the side, Jian Chen took his mother and sat her down in a chair before sitting in the seat next to her. Xianger, just what is going on? Are you truly the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom? As soon as he sat down, Chang Yongba immediately spoke with the question that was raring to escape from his mouth. That is correct, father. I have the status of being the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. Jian Chen spoke honestly. Now that the truth was out, Jian Chen saw no need to hide the facts. Chang Yongba's body began to tremble as his face started to twitch with emotion. He turned his head to the 5 imperial advisors as if looking for confirmation. The other men within the hall of the compound immediately grew silent at Jian Chen's words. Their eyes lost their light as they lost themselves in thought. The elders and Chang Wuji were especially affected as shock rode through their hearts. The mysterious imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had in truth been their very own clan member. The 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom let out smiles and nodded to verify Jian Chen's words. Among the entire group, the king of the Jessan kingdom was the most astounded and unbelieving. At first, the identity of the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had been a mystery to him. It had left him struggling to figure out what the actual connection between the Jessan and the Qinhuang kingdom was, and if it was possible to climb relations with them as if they were a tree. For the sake of thinking about such a thing, he had racked his mind trying to think of a way to no avail. He never would have thought that the result would be so theatrical. After expending so much effort, the imperial protector he wanted to curry favor with was actually his very own son-in-law. With such a result, the king of the Jessan kingdom didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Dear son-in-law, you have surprised your entire family. The king forced a small smile on his face, but knowing that Jian Chen was the imperial protector caused him to be incredibly happy. He also started to speak to him with a different tone. Chang Wuji let out a sigh before speaking gratefully to Jian Chen, "Fourth master, this one had no idea that you had such an important status. Our Changyang clan will definitely shine brighter because of you." Now that Jian Chen's identity had been revealed to the entire upper echelons of the Changyang clan, everyone looked at Jian Chen in a new light. Being the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom was more than enough to completely quash a king of a small kingdom like the Jessan kingdom. Chapter 453, Child of the Bai clan. Everyone began to talk to each other after learning of such information. Now that the 5 imperial advisors knew the true identity of the imperial protector, they began to treat the Changyang clan with a politeness unlike the previous noble demeanor they had used before. The 5 of them had an attitude that made the entire Changyang clan feel honored, causing the clan members' faces to light up as an indicator of their feelings. Because of their connection to Jian Chen, the Changyang clan instantly leaped over the dragon's gate and transformed into the mighty dragon. The king of the Jessan kingdom was now the lowest-ranking group in terms of power among the people present. However, the king paid no attention to the ranking at all and was instead very happy. He could swear that in his entire life, he had never been as happy as he was now. Everyone continued to speak for some time before a banquet was prepared. Afterward, Changyang Ba invited everyone to a delicious meal. "Xianger, follow your father now." Changyang Ba began to pull at Jian Chen's hands as they walked out. Jian Chen could sense that his father's hands were shaking a little. After the banquet had been prepared in the spacious hall, the most outstanding maids gathered and began to prepare several seats around the tables. The 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom, the king of the Jessan kingdom, the leader of the Changyang clan, Chang Wuji, Jian Chen and his mother Bai Yuntian were all seated at the same table. This arrangement had been formed after a discussion between the high-ranking elders of the Changyang clan. Although Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian were not at the very top of the hierarchy, because of their outstanding son, they were able to hold the same amount of power now that their statuses had been elevated. As for Chang Wuji, despite being a housekeeper for the Changyang clan, he had a special status within the clan. He was fully deserving of having the right to sit at this banquet with the high-ranking elders of the clan. Xianger has profited from such a disaster, it would seem. When he was forced out of his home 6 years ago at the age of 15, I never would have thought that Xianger would grow so rapidly and by such an unbelievable amount. Changyang Ba sighed in admiration at the table. "Quite right, my son-in-law is quite talented, a talent that has never been seen before," the king spouted. Hearing what the 2 of them said, the 5 imperial advisors looked at each other in shock. Although Jian Chen was young, they had all thought that Jian Chen's true age was at the very least older than what his appearance portrayed. After all, the appearance of a person was not a true way to determine a person's age. After hearing what Changyang Ba said, the 5 of them realized that Jian Chen was truly younger than they thought. He was only 21 years old. A heaven saint master at the age of 21. At such a thought, Xiao Tian's heart was overwhelmed with shock. Originally, he had speculated that Jian Chen was 50 years old at the most, and 30 years old at the very least. Now that they all knew Jian Chen's true age, they were completely mute with shock. Being a heaven saint master at the age of 21 was something that had never been done before. The last outstanding genius, over the entire history of the Tianyuan continent, had been 30 years old at the very least when he had become a heaven saint master. Even more surprising, that very same genius later on became a saint king. The 5 imperial advisors made resolutions within their hearts. They would without fail try their best to curry favor with the youngest imperial protector within the history of the Qinhuang kingdom and try to establish deep friendships with him. In their hearts, they knew that this young imperial protector would at the very least become an entity that would step into the realm of the Saint King. Even after the feast ended, nobody left. Instead, they gathered back in the giant hall of the Changyang clan, where they began to converse once more. It was only at night that the entire group split ways. In private, the king of the Jessen kingdom seeked out Changyangba and Bai Yuntian, "My dear relatives, now that the war is finally over, this king still has many things to do. So, I must take my leave tomorrow morning. I sincerely hope that you will be able to visit the palace with me and discuss the engagement between my daughter and Xiangtian. Now that they are both older, it is time to manage the marriage." Of course, of course. Your Majesty, please do not worry, once the Changyang clan calms down, I will immediately bring Xiang'er to the palace. I hope this will not trouble your Majesty. Changyangba laughed. Although his son's identity was vastly different, Changyangba himself still approved of such a marriage. One reason was because he wanted to reassure the king, and the other reason was because he approved of the princess. Changyangba had seen the princess before and could only speak of her with admiration. The princess was truly an outstanding young lady. What kind of talk is that? This king would be happy to receive you, it is no bother at all. The king boomed with laughter. With that, the joyous mood receded as he cleared his throat and left. After the king left, Changyangba and Bai Yuntian walked to Jian Chen's room only to discover that the 5 imperial advisors were already inside Jian Chen's room. Changyangba and his wife spoke several words of greeting to the imperial advisors before turning to Jian Chen. "Xiang'er, rest up for tonight. Tomorrow morning, we leave for the imperial palace." "Yes, father," Jian Chen replied. This was within his expectations, since his identity as an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had been revealed. It would be abnormal if the king of the Jessen kingdom didn't try to rope the Changyang clan into his influence as soon as possible. After thinking about his own identity, Jian Chen knew that the Jessen kingdom would definitely rise in power thanks to the Qinhuang kingdom. No matter what, the Jessen kingdom was his homeland, and where the Changyang clan had laid down its roots. As the child of the Changyang clan, this was something he should do. Changyangba and Bai Yuntian wanted to speak a little more with Jian Chen, but when they saw the 5 imperial advisors, they had no other choice but to leave. After Changyangba and Bai Yuntian left, Jian Chen let out a deep sigh before sitting back down. "Tomorrow morning I will be back at the imperial palace. You 5 should remain here for a few days." "Yes, honored imperial protector." Xiao Tian gave a response. Unbeknownst to Jian Chen, Xiao Tian's attitude toward him had become even more respectful than before. If one were to exclude his terrifying potential, Jian Chen would still be able to fight the 5 of them by himself with his strength right now. As soon as the 5 imperial left, one of the maids waiting outside came into the room. "Fourth master, the 4th lady and clan leader wished to speak with you in the hall." "I understand, you may go," Jian Chen replied. "As you wish." The maid withdrew. Walking up to his bed, Jian Chen looked at the peacefully sleeping white tiger cub on his pillow for a moment before leaving his room to speak with his parents. It was already night outside, but the Changyang clan was still lit with fire, and black armored soldiers could be seen patrolling around the clan compound with icy looks. Not only were the regular sentries of the Changyang clan standing guard, but there were also the black armors which were in charge of protecting the king. When Jian Chen entered the hall, he didn't have to worry about the activity that was normally seen in the daytime. There were only 3 people within the hall. 2 of them were his parents while the 3rd person was a middle-aged man wearing black armor. He recognized this middle-aged man sitting across from Bai Yuntian and Changyangba. It was his uncle, Bai Dao. "Xiang'er, come greet your uncle," Bai Yuntian told Jian Chen as Bai Dao turned to look at Jian Chen with a happy expression. Jian Chen strode forward quickly before replying, "Hello, uncle." Bai Dao stood up from his stool with a bright smile. "Haha, excellent. It is no wonder you are the pride of our Bai clan." As he spoke, Bai Dao strode toward Jian Chen before quickly striking at Jian Chen's chest like lightning. Wind-attributed saint force gathered in his fist before exploding like a strong gale from the force of his fist. Bai Dao's strike had been very sudden without any premonition. Combined with his strength as an Earth Saint Master, even Changyangba hadn't seen the attack coming. Jian Chen's lips curled into a faint smile as he began to gather all of the energy of the world instantly in his palm. Then, he met Bai Dao's attack straight on with a graceful swing of his palm. As the two sides collided, a muffled sound could be heard from the contact. However, the excellent control of energy from both sides made it so no energy shockwave exploded outward. Dang dang dang. After the fist and palm had made contact, Bai Dao's legs were forced back several steps as he attempted to steady himself. With yet another smile on his face, he spoke, "You can truly control the energy of the world, Xiangtian. You've truly stepped into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters. It is no wonder that you are the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Brother, do you believe me now?" Bai Yuntian spoke with a pleased look on her face. Her own son held such a high achievement, making her feel extremely proud. "I definitely believe now, ha ha ha." Bai Dao laughed from his happiness. His eyes shimmered with a small layer of water that quickly disappeared as fast as it had appeared, meaning no one spotted it. Changyangba stood up from his stool and smiled. "Bai Dao, you and your sister haven't met for 6 years, why don't you two chat for now? I need to arrange several things, so Xianger, why don't you sit here with your uncle and mother?" Changyangba spoke before leaving. Very quickly, Bai Dao calmed himself and looked at his nephew with a complicated look. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master, how unbelievable. Who would have known that even after the destruction of our Bai clan such an outstanding child would appear? Bai Dao sighed as his face slowly grew more and more serious. Looking at Jian Chen, his next words were more earnest. "Xiangtian, your uncle knows that you are different than you were in the past, and your uncle wants you to remember, not only do you possess the blood of the Changyang clan through your veins, but you also contain the blood of our Bai clan. The grievances of our Bai clan all rest with you." Bai Yuntian's eyebrows narrowed together as she gave a critical look to Bai Dao and spoke with dissatisfaction. "Brother, Xianger is still too young. Why must you speak of such matters now? Xianger has only just returned from the bitter outer world and finally made his way back home. You needn't push even more worries onto Xianger now. Mother, uncle is right. I am not only the child of the Changyang clan, but the Bai clan as well. Wait until I have enough strength, I will definitely take revenge for the Bai clan." Jian Chen answered in a serious manner. Chapter 454, The Grand Princess. "Xianger, you don't need to decide on what to do for our Bai clan just yet, let that wait for later." Bai Yuntian spoke with concern. Despite her son being the imperial protector for the Qinhuang kingdom, the enemies of the Bai clan were far from weak, and their identities today were still unclear. If the patriarch of the Bai clan was a saint ruler and still couldn't resolve the matter, how would her own son be able to? At least for right now, it was impossible. "Xiangtian, listen to your mother. You only need to remember our enemies, revenge can wait for later. We haven't any idea on who the enemies are, perhaps our ancestors only knew a little about them as well." Bai Dao spoke in a low whisper, but as he spoke of the past, there was a pained look on his face. Bai Dao calmed himself down and continued, "Even though our Bai clan had 4 Heaven Saint Masters, they all fell. Even our Saint Ruler Patriarch's current status is unknown. Finding out whether he is alive or not is our highest priority. But we still do not know where the Patriarch is located if he is still alive." Bai Yuntian spoke with concern. A Saint Ruler would not die easily. With Xiangtian's talent, I believe that he will sooner or later cross over into the same realm. That will make looking for the Patriarch easier. Bai Dao looked to Jian Chen. "Xiangtian, I hope that you will be mindful and listen for news about our Bai clan's Patriarch." "I will." Jian Chen nodded. Jian Chen, his mother, and his uncle began to chat in the hall afterward before much time had passed. The three people there split paths and returned to their rooms to rest. The night quickly went by. The next morning Jian Chen walked out with the tiger cub in his hands. After eating breakfast with everyone, he left the Changyang clan with Changyang Ba, by Yuntian, the king and his black armors. The 5 imperial advisors remained behind within the Changyang clan and were provided for with warm hospitality. The reason Jian Chen had them stay within the clan compound was a selfish one. He wanted his clan to gain some prestige for having the imperial advisors with them. After several hours of traveling, everyone finally arrived back at the imperial palace by night. The king brought Jian Chen and his parents to their own personal palace rooms where they rested in. While there, several maids attended to them before leaving in a hurry. Not long after the king left, a young person over the age of 20 and an elder could be seen having a discussion with each other in a grand receiving room. At this moment, a middle-aged man came rushing in before kneeling before the youth and elder, a report for the second prince and Prime Minister Che. The king of the Jessan kingdom has returned to the palace and brought with him 3 people of unusual status. Hearing this, the Prime Minister narrowed his eyes and asked, "Were you able to hear who these 3 people are?" "Prime Minister," this humble servant was able to hear it clearly. "All 3 of them are from the Changyang clan. Within the Jessan kingdom, they hold a decisive amount of power." The man spoke. A spark of light could be seen in the Prime Minister's eyes as he spoke. "You may leave. Be sure to take note of every action they take." "Yes, Prime Minister." The man quickly left the room. The Prime Minister immersed himself in thought as he muttered, "The Changyang clan, so they are from that clan? I heard a few years back, the king of the Jessan kingdom engaged his daughter to a person named Changyang Xiangtian, the 4th master of the Changyang clan. Yesterday, the king refused a marriage between our 2 kingdoms, and today, he brings the Changyang clan to the imperial palace. The meaning of this doesn't even need to be said." The second prince had a dangerous gleam in his eyes as he slowly drank his cup of tea. With a neither calm or angry voice, he spoke, "This king doesn't know how to tell bad from good. Our heavenly eagle kingdom has already offered a union between our 2 kingdoms, but instead of cherishing such an opportunity, he has slighted us in public." "Humph." The Prime Minister spoke with a laugh, "Calm your anger, second prince. The marriage was something that His Majesty ordered me to complete. This old servant will surely arrange for it to happen. The relation between the Qinhuang and the Jessan kingdom is definitely not as intimate as we initially thought. There is no need to worry." Hearing this, the second prince revealed a smile on his face. "Then I'll be troubling the Prime Minister for your help." The Prime Minister's hand stroked his beard as he looked at the second prince with a smile. "Has the second prince been tempted by the princess?" The second prince nodded his head. "Her reputation precedes her. The princess truly is an excellent individual. Not only is her talent at cultivation as strong as mine, she is also exceedingly beautiful. The air she carries about her is quite different than other women. Like a needle in the haystack, she is beautiful and elegant like a fairy released into the human world." The Prime Minister smirked. His elderly eyes watched how moved the second prince had become, because of the princess. At the same time, within a red silk-laced room in the palace, a single black-haired young lady could be seen sitting at her dressing table. Both of her arms were machine-like as she combed her own long hair. Her slender white fingers held the wooden comb and made the combing motions gracefully and naturally. She wore a black and white cheongsam that added a sense of purity to her beauty. Her eyes gleamed with a dark look that seemed as if they were concealing an ability to captivate any man that looked at her. "Yuer, may your father enter?" The gentle voice of a man could be heard outside her door. "Father, you may enter." The seated lady spoke gently. The door opened, revealing the king of the Jessan kingdom who came striding into the room. When he saw his daughter combing her hair, he let a small sigh escape his lips. "Yuer, your father understands your feelings, but your father is also the ruler of a kingdom, meaning there are situations where even I cannot move freely. Father, your daughter understands. From the day I was born into royalty, your daughter lost the ability to live her own life. The daughter's expression had a downcast look to it. Yuer, please do not be so sad, your father truly loves you. How could your father bear to let you feel anguish? Yuer is far too outstanding, so there is only one man in your father's mind that suits you. Yuer, hurry and get dressed. We must go see your future husband, Changyang Xiangtian of the Changyang clan. Changyang Xiangtian? Is it not the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? The girl asked in confusion. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The king spoke with a low nagging voice and his eyes revealed a disdainful look. How could the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom suit my Yuer? Yuer, you may not know of this, but as things stands now, it is time to tell you. The king stopped speaking for a moment as he drew closer to Yuer. He looked at the copper mirror that reflected the beauty that was his daughter. With a smile, he spoke, Yuer, when you were staying at Kargath Academy in the past, I believe you met Changyang Xiangtian. After a few years, Changyang Xiangtian is now a person of many achievements and has far exceeded the expectations your father had. Did you know? Changyang Xiangtian is 21 years old, but he has already become a Heaven Saint Master. Furthermore, he was able to defeat 3 of the Heaven Saint Masters of the Huayun sect by himself. Yuer's eyes regained some semblance of vigor as her face betrayed a look of shock. She thought about how a 21-year-old was a Heaven Saint Master. Next, the king followed up on his own words, that's not all, Yuer, do you know why the imperial advisors of the Qinhuang Kingdom came to the assistance of our Jessan Kingdom all of a sudden? At a loss, Yuer shook her head. This was completely because of Changyang Xiangtian, for he is also the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Those 5 imperial advisors of the Qinhuang Kingdom obeyed Changyang Xiangtian's command to help our Jessan Kingdom. As he spoke, the king of the Jessan Kingdom couldn't help but reveal some excitement in his voice as he himself grew excited. This piece of information caused no small amount of shock to Yuer. As she digested the words, Yuer's eyes began to widen as her cherry-red lips dropped down to form an O shape in utter disbelief. After a long moment, Yuer finally regained her spirit and turned to look in shock at the king. Hiding her mouth behind her hands, she asked, How is that possible? Father, are you deceiving your daughter? The king laughed, Yuer, do you think your father would play such a trick on you? Yuer, it's time for you to get dressed. In a moment, I will be meeting with Changyang Xiangtian. The Changyang clan right now is a clan that our Jessan Kingdom should remember to curry favor with. In the future, our kingdom will be relying on them. Ha ha ha, I never would have thought that the Imperial Protector would unexpectedly be the 4th master of the Changyang clan, how shocking. This one is named Yi Ming, but if the Imperial Protector would be happy, please just call me by my name instead of my title. Within the palace, a white-robed figure laughed out loud and didn't bother to hide the joyous look on his face. This elder was the Heaven Saint Master in charge of protecting the Jessan Kingdom, but he had once seen Jian Chen at the Eastern Stronghold during the war. Jian Chen nodded his head with a smile on his face, but didn't speak a word. Honored Imperial Protector, I've heard that you were once a student of Kargath Academy. The headmaster, Kafir, is already on his way here after hearing the news. I believe that he'll be here soon. Wait until he hears that the Imperial Protector was actually a past student of Kargath Academy. I wonder what expression he'll have, ha ha ha. Yi Ming laughed. I predict that he will be far too stunned to say a word. After Yi Ming spoke, another voice came out from behind them abruptly. Turning around, the two could see the king himself and a beautifully dressed, all in white, Yuer right behind him. Her eyes had a resplendent glow to them as she looked curiously at the 3 people from the Changyang clan before ultimately glancing upon Jian Chen's face. My dear son-in-law, this is my daughter, the Grand Princess, Yu Yu. This name was personally picked out for her by her mother. As they entered the room, the king introduced his daughter straight away, but when he mentioned Yu Yu's mother, his face showed a glint of sadness. Chapter 455, Rescinding the Engagement. Jian Chen stood up from his chair and looked at Yu Yu with tranquil eyes and a smile. I pay my respects to the Grand Princess. The princess was wearing a white chongpao and stood quietly behind the king. Her long, beautiful, black hair that usually cascaded down to her waist was tied up to her head in a delicate fashion. Combined with her beautiful looks, which were capable of felling a country, her appearance had the ability to steal a man's soul. The princess didn't speak a word or return a bow and instead looked at Jian Chen curiously. Her eyes twinkled in the light, giving her the appearance of a wise person. Laughing, the king spoke, "My dear son-in-law, this must be the first time you have come to my imperial palace. Allow my Yuer to show you around the place." Not even waiting for Jian Chen to respond, the king gave a look to the princess behind him. Understanding the meaning in his stare, the princess spoke gently, "Lord Changyang Xiangtian, if you would please follow me." Her voice was so soft and gentle that everyone who heard her felt themselves at peace. "Then I will trouble the princess." Jian Chen smiled as he walked forward. There were still some things he wished to speak with the princess about. Seeing him leisurely walk out with the princess, Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian let faint smiles appear on their faces. Having the princess as a daughter was something they were both extremely satisfied with. Within the Jessan kingdom, aside from the princess, they hadn't been able to find any other woman capable of fitting with their son. Even the king had a joyous smile on his face as he sat down next to Yi Ming and faced Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian. "My dear family, nephew Xiangtian and my daughter Yuer aren't young anymore. It seems to me that it is best to take care of the matters of marriage straight away." The king laughed, hoping that they could continue the marriage as quickly as possible. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian looked at each other for a brief moment before Bai Yuntian answered, "Your Majesty, we wholly agree to the marriage of Xiang'er to the princess. However, Xiang'er has grown old as well to become old enough to handle his own responsibilities. There are some matters we dare not meddle in, so I propose that we wait for Xiang'er to see what his opinion is." Hearing this, there was a glint of disappointment in the king's eyes, but he agreed with Bai Yuntian's thoughts. In the imperial palace, a single guard could be seen walking into the quarters of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's envoys. Cupping his hands, he spoke, "A report for the second prince and the prime minister. The king of the Jessan kingdom has brought the princess out." She and another male around the age of 20 were seen walking toward the imperial garden. "You may leave." The prime minister waved his hand for the guard to leave before furrowing his eyebrows together. There was a cold glint in the second prince's eyes as his face grew dark. "That youth must be Changyang Xiangtian. That king has refused our toast, and now, he'll drink to his defeat. I personally came all the way here just to be treated in such an absurd way. Ridiculous." Even the prime minister let out a short snort. It would appear that the king of the Jessan kingdom is determined to marry the princess to the Changyang clan. It is time to find the king himself for an answer. With that, the prime minister flicked his sleeves with a furious expression. After the prime minister left, the second prince thought for a moment before snorting, "Changyang Xiangtian, let this prince see just what right you have. I am a man you cannot even touch." With that, the second prince left the place to walk toward the imperial garden with several other people from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jian Chen walked alongside the princess as they strolled around the palace before quickly coming into a sea of flowers. This was a world full of fresh flowers of all kinds and all sorts of colors arranged in a beautiful pattern. A sweet fragrance wafted into the air, allowing everyone to feel comforted with each breath. On the way, the two hadn't spoken a single word, but it was evident that the princess truly loved this area. As she walked alongside the flowers at a leisurely pace, her face revealed a gentle smile as she looked at the many beautiful flowers. This is the biggest flower garden within the entire Jessen kingdom. I enjoy this place, and if I am within the palace, I will always find myself looking at these beautiful flowers. I planted these flowers myself when I was young. The princess smiled as she spoke with a voice similar to a skylark in melody. Her snow-white chongpao combined with her beautiful looks, made her resemble a fairy as she stood in the middle of the flowers. Jian Chen looked at the beautiful face of the princess for a moment before speaking. "Princess, have we met before?" He had been waiting to ask this question for a very long time. Hearing this, the princess' eyes turned away from the flowers and back toward Jian Chen before smiling. "My name is Yu Changyang Xiangtian, do you remember it?" An image suddenly flashed in Jian Chen's mind as he realized just who she was. "So it's you? We met many years ago at Kargath Academy." No wonder I felt that the princess looked familiar to me. The princess couldn't help but think back to when she had met Changyang Xiangtian for the very first time, several years ago in the library of Kargath Academy. His thirst and enthrallment for knowledge had left a deep impression on her. And now, after several years, the tiny saint had suddenly transformed to become one of the strongest individuals on the Tian Yuan continent. The entire Jessen kingdom, which was on the verge of destruction, had in fact been saved by this one individual, causing the princess to feel astounded. Yet, at the same time she was left in disbelief. Looking at the handsome face of Changyang Xiangtian, the princess hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Changyang Xiangtian, I heard from my father that you are a heaven saint master. Would it be possible for you to allow me to experience what it is like to fly?" Jian Chen hesitated briefly before ultimately nodding his head with a smile. "Princess, prepare yourself then." With that, Jian Chen's right hand gently grasped the princess' arm. Despite her clothes serving as a barrier between his hand and her arm, Jian Chen could feel her gentle yet flexible skin underneath. Her arm was very minute and soft. Jian Chen's hand could fully wrap around it despite his hands not being too big. The very moment Jian Chen touched her arm, the princess revealed a frantic expression on her face. Ever since she was young, no other male had touched her besides her father. Without even waiting for her to react, a layer of the wind element enveloped her entire body and levitated her body from the ground. She began to slowly float into the air. Jian Chen's expression was very calm and his eyes were as tranquil as water. He slowly brought the princess into the air and up toward the sky. Soon enough, the princess calmed herself as the fresh feeling of flight captured her heart. Her face grew curious and happy as she looked down at the slowly shrinking palace below her. "Is this what it's like to fly? This is like a bird flying through the air freely. How envious I am of their experience." The princess' face could not hide the admiration she felt. "The princess has talent. As long as you continue to work hard, you will one day step into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters." Jian Chen laughed. The princess truly did have such talent. At her current age, she was already at the Saint Master realm. The two quickly descended back to the ground in the center of the flower garden. The look the princess gave to Jian Chen now was completely different than the one from before. Seeing the beautiful face of the princess, Jian Chen hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Princess, Changyang Xiangtian, call me Yuer. That is what my father and Uncle Yi Ming call me." As Jian Chen opened his mouth, it was closed shut by Yuer. Shortly after she spoke, her face grew a little red. "Then I shall do that." Jian Chen didn't argue. "Princess Yu, there is still a matter I wish to discuss with you." The princess remained quiet as her bright eyes continued to stare straight at Jian Chen. Continuing, Jian Chen spoke. "Princess Yu, the marriage between the two of us has never been agreed to by either of us. Our parents may have agreed, but the way this marriage was proposed is something I am actually against. In the past, I hadn't the power to do anything about it, and so I accepted it in silence. But it is different now. I have the power now." With that, Jian Chen stopped speaking for a moment. Although he hadn't been completely straightforward, the intelligent Yu could understand where Jian Chen was going with this. The princess went silent for a moment as her eyes stared at the Go board on a nearby table. After a while, she spoke, "Changyang Xiangtian, do you wish to rescind our engagement?" "Princess Yu, I believe that even you are against how this marriage was carried out. If you agree, I will immediately ask the king to annul the marriage. I know why your father did such a thing, but you needn't worry. I am a citizen of the Jessen kingdom, this is my home, and I will definitely protect my home." Jian Chen spoke calmly. In the past, he had been completely against this marriage. However, at the time he didn't have any power, he couldn't do anything about it. Now, the situation was different from the past. The princess was silent for a moment, but her heart was anything but calm. Hearing Jian Chen's wish to rescind the engagement caused her heart to feel a stinging pain of disappointment. It was as if she had lost something extremely important. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.